Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the app today.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello and welcome to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I am Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us today. You might ask, why you sound extra excited today?
Yeah.
Why? Because it's a wrestling episode. That's why. Our favorites,
There's that.
Pretty much everybody's favorite episodes are the wrestling episodes. They never let us down. And
Never.
Today is no exception at all. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. We have so much for you. But before we get to that, just quickly, want to thank everybody for their reviews this week. Mm-hmm. Very helpful. I don't know, whatever app or platform you're listening on, give a review. If you can do it. Give however many stars possible. I don't know, and say some nice thing. I don't care. It's not for us. It's not for our egos. It's to drive us up the charts in whatever platform you're on there. Do all of that. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com right now so you can get your tickets for next week, September the 16th. This is 2021, and available for 3 days after that. The virtual live show for Small Town Murder.
Right.
Oh, we're going to have so much. All the fun of a live show, except you don't have to, leave and park.
You don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, leave, park, do this, do that, worry about how much did I drink, should we get an Uber? Nope, get hammered and have fun.
Don't worry about getting another test. Don't worry about anything.
Hey,
just go home.
You can pass out in the middle of it, pick it back up tomorrow even. It's available for 3 days. So we don't care what you do, but hang out with us. That's right. And do all of that at shutupandgivememurder.com. Patreon this week we did some awesome episodes.
Were they fun.
I'm going to brag about them. They were really good. So you should check those out that we just put up for Crime and Sports' episode. We did the XFL from 2001. Yeah. So if you like Vince McMahon and making fun of Vince McMahon and things like that, this episode is for you because it is, one of his biggest blunders. So we had a really good time with that. And for the Small Town Murder one, our favorite thing to do also is Love After Lockup, and we did that. So talking about the show Love After Lockup.
And Clay Thorson's wife, Melissa, he was jacked specifically about it because that's their biggest pleasure is watching trash shit TV. And then afterwards, they're mad that they wasted all of that time. But they're mad that there isn't more of it.
That's the thing. Where isn't more? Now I have to wait a week? This is ridiculous.
Fuck.
So you can get all of that at patreon.com/crimeandsports. Anybody over the $5 level gets access to everything, all the shows, all the bonuses from both shows, the entire back catalog, anything we can give you. You got it. So that's how that works there. Patreon.com/crimeandsports. And you'll get a shout out at the end of the show because that's the only way we can really individually thank people. We can
give you the love.
Can't come over and bring you a bottle of wine or anything. So instead, we have Jimmie mispronounce your name. So there you go. That's what you get instead. That's a lot of fun. And if you just want to get the shout out and have great karma and our undying love and affection, obviously, you can do that over at PayPal using our email address, which is crimeinsports@gmail.com.
Right.
That said, let's get into it because
let's do it.
It's a wrestler, so we have to dive right in. It takes so much here to do it, and brain damage sports again. And oh man, this guy, I don't know if it's brain damage or just I don't know if he came out of the womb like this, but there is a problem here. There's an issue with this man. Let's put it that way. Let's talk about him. Marcus Alexander Bagwell, better known as Buff Bagwell.
Oh, not Jeff.
Remember old Buff Bagwell, Jimmie?
I do.
Oh, yeah. This is WCW. He was in it right from the 91 when they were in the dregs, the Jim Herd era, when they were not doing well at all, and any terrible storylines, awful ratings, terrible pay-per-view buy numbers, all the way through the NWO and the Peak and the, kicking Vince McMahon's ass for a couple years, all the way to the death. He was there really through the whole kind of arc of the whole thing. So it's pretty interesting.
Was it Jeff Bagwell that played baseball?
Jeff played baseball, yeah. Jeff was an Astros first baseman who hit 500 home runs.
Yeah.
And who was about your height. I don't care. I'm not kidding. I don't care what his baseball card says. Yeah. I met that fucking guy when I was a bouncer in Arizona, and he was your fucking height. But two of you wide, though, in the shoulders. Like, he was on so much steroids, it was ridiculous. This was like 99. He was ready to burst. He was so vascular it was ridiculous, but he was 5'8" tops. So let's talk about this Bagwell, Buff Bagwell. Here, old Buffy. Here, he's born January 10th, 1970. So he's 51 now. He lives he's born in Marietta, Georgia, and pretty much stays in Georgia always. He's always a Georgia guy. WCW is an Atlanta-based company, so that's kind of one of the reasons why he ended up there, is because he was kind of known as like a local guy. So they liked that. They wanted to bring along some local guy. And right away, we have to say, when he's younger, he's a handsome motherfucker. He's very, very handsome. That's just, there's no other way to put it. I mean, you can look at him and go, he looks like a douche. He looks like a douche, but in like 1992 parlance, he's a handsome guy. He's well put together, has a nice chiseled face. There's, nobody would look at him and go, that's an ugly guy right there. Very rarely is that going to happen. So that is going to work both in his favor and, of course, against him. Of course. Because in wrestling, if you might get some of the ladies to like you, but you're going to get the guys to hate you at that point.
It's very much like women in comedy.
It very much is like women in comedy.
When you dress nice and put yourself together on stage, the ladies in the audience tend to hate you because sometimes you look terrific.
Sometimes,
that's from female comics I've talked to. That's what they've told me.
It's not what I've seen though, because I opened for Natasha Leggero, and you don't get more. She's in a fucking evening gown with earrings on and everything. Oh, she's just makeup, hair. I mean, she looks like she is going to a fucking dude. When she goes on stage, she does not mess around. She looks like she's going to the ball. It's she's great.
But she's like she's classically trained actress, right?
Oh, she's terrific. Yeah, she's in everything.
That's what I mean.
She's in everything. She's like Reno 911. Yeah. She's the one in the beginning running around in her underwear that they're chasing. Yeah. That's her. She's hilarious. But
then you look at
the
people
women love her though.
Yeah.
They love her.
Then there are other women that don't do that. That's just part of her act, though. There are women that fucking wear like jeans and a ripped ass T-shirt, and they do that because they don't want to be too pretty and upstage the women that this is their night out and did some fucking effort to be here.
Well, as a guy, it's the same way though. You're trying not to look handsome on stage. That's not what you're going for. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I promise. Every time I go on stage, I'm trying so hard.
You're trying to look nice, but you don't want the guys to be like, "Fuck this guy." You know what I'm saying?
I don't think that's an option for me.
Okay, I've had issues with height. I think where they're like, "Oh, fuck this tall motherfucker," like that sort of thing. I'll get.
But you can't like do your set on your knees.
No.
There's nothing you can do about that.
But I act like a psychopath, and they're like, "Okay, I like this guy." He just said he just talked about wanting to murder somebody in a Foot Locker. I think I like this guy, and by then I got everybody. You know what I mean? That's how it works.
But for me, literally every time I've been on stage, I have tried my ass off to look handsome tonight.
That's awesome. Well, you do a very good job, Jimmie.
Whatever shit I'm in was mad calculated, I promise.
That's funny. Yeah, looks can be
it can help or it can be detrimental. Either way.
Yes. I think it's weird because like women who are put together and pretty, I think they have a better chance of building a female audience than a male audience still, whereas a male comic who is quote unquote pretty, that's going to be a woman audience. Like the guys aren't going to. How many guys went to see Chris fucking D'Elia when he was going strong? Yeah. How many guys went to see a lot of
their girlfriends brought them?
Exactly, their girlfriends dragged them, and they were like, "Dude, I have to be at the 10th grade tomorrow. Can we please go home?"
That is something positive about comedy, being in an industry where Chris D'Elia is handsome. That's very helpful.
Mm-hmm. That's the other thing, is it doesn't take much.
No.
It's a very sliding
doesn't
scale.
take much at all.
Doing stand-up, like starting out, on most lineups, I was the most handsome motherfucker there. And that's I'm not a great-looking guy, but when you look around, it's like, that dude's a freak. That guy looks like they drug him out of a fucking sewer pipe. Right. That guy looks like he slept in those clothes for 3 days. Like, it wasn't a lot of competition. And it was like, I look like I showered and showed up.
That guy looks like he's taking a union break from his taxi cab job. And he is.
And he was. Yes. That's what I mean. And then I would at least show up, like, showered with a set that was prepared. And I'd be like, oh, wow, look at that. Like, so it's not a hard competition.
Looks like he smells like soap right now. This is nice.
Yeah, okay. He looks like he's a comedian, at least. Like this was his goal for the day, was to be here, not like he was stopping here on the way to somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? That's all I mean. That's all you have to do, is look like you're going to show. You look like you're there on purpose, and that's it. Not like you were like, hey, I think I'm funny, from the fourth row, and they were like, come on up and take a crack at it, Chief.
A lot of girls that I know, like Eliza and Jess, like they don't what they're wearing is calculated, obviously, because they're women. But it's not like trying their best to look their best. They're just looking
pretty women
decent,
anyway, though. They're both good-looking people.
But I've heard them both say they don't want to upstage ladies, that this is their night out. Yeah. I've heard that.
I think it's more of like, once when you're starting out in comedy, it's hard for a woman like that, because you have to, once they get an audience, then women like that you're hot. Then they're like, yeah, she's hot and I like that, where it's like different, but it takes till you get an audience, which is pretty much, you can't do anything in comedy, because I was just thinking about it. Guys are the same way till they get an audience. Yeah. Basically, till you get an audience, you're just a total asshole who has to kiss a room full of strangers' dicks every time you fucking see them, and try to make everybody like you, and it's disgusting. Yeah. So
it's awful.
Go.
It's the worst. Now, trying to figure out what this audience likes because they like that guy. What does he do, and who's his audience? And I got to be that.
Okay, if you're a first-time listener to Crime and Sports, we apologize for talking about stand-up for the last 5 minutes.
It's too much comedy.
It's a thing that happens whenever we talk about wrestling, because, and we've even talked to wrestlers about this, there is a disturbing parallel between wrestlers and comedians. It's just it's the same lifestyle. It's the same everything. It's the same neediness. It's the same I'm being somebody that's not actually me in front of people, and they all think it's me, but it's not. There's everything about it. The drugs, us, and who dies in a hotel room more than wrestlers and comedians? Like, that's how we die, all of us. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're Kurt Hennig or Greg Giraldo, it's the same fucking, might as well be the same hotel room, because it's the same death. I'm not kidding though.
Yeah.
You know?
And it doesn't go across the board like there's a comic that talks about drugs their whole life, they're going to die. It's also like John Panette dies in a hotel, never once says he does drugs.
Not a drug.
Never.
Yeah, it just happens, you know? Yeah. So now Buff comes up here, Marcus. He's a very athletic guy. He's an athlete his whole life. And you can tell, I mean, he's a very put together guy. Like, you could, even steroids aside, to still be that cut up, you still have to have pretty good genetics and have a pretty good base of operations to begin with to look good. You know, there's a lot of people I know, if you gave them steroids, they just look like big, huge, terrible looking people. Then it wouldn't help.
That'd be a little muscular meatball.
So he played baseball and football while he was in high school. He went to Sprayberry High School. Sprayberry.
Yeesh.
It's a berry that sprays you. That's a very weird. I don't know if that's like something that grows in Georgia or what. I'm not sure how that works. But once he graduates, during the day he's working for his family's lumber company. Yeah. That's what he's doing there. And then at night, I guess he's training to be an amateur boxer. He's working on boxing a little bit. Yeah, he's thinking about boxing. But this dude's too pretty you don't box if you...
you got too much ridiculous to lose. Come on,
that's silly. You wouldn't do that. So apparently once his family's lumber company ends up going bankrupt, he has to find another line of work, somewhere to make money. So he becomes a massage therapist at like 18 or 19. So this guy just oiling up his hands, gonna rub you down now.
18 or 19-year-old with aspirations. He's seen porn. Like, this will get me laid at least.
It's like, at least I'm gonna finger so many people, dudes and chicks, just everybody. I don't care. I'm all oiled up. Things happen, you know. So he at that point he decides that he wants to train to become a wrestler. And he does train to become a wrestler. And Steve Lawler is his main trainer. Not Jerry Lawler, Steve Lawler. And he apparently starts working in North Georgia at first. That's his first stint. And this is a very small territory. Like this 1990, this is barely a territory. Everything is dead at this point. So I don't even know what the fuck territory here. So he's there trying this out. And he goes as Fabulous Fabian. Which is definitely going to get, especially in the South in 1991, is going to get you some.
This is a little ridicule.
I'm thinking something alliterative that's going to come after Fabulous Fabian. And it's probably going to get, you're going to get that a lot probably back then from those people.
Yeah.
We're talking rural North Georgia.
Beautifully.
Yeah. It's rural North Georgia in 1991, and he's this handsome guy going, I'm Fabulous Fabian. That's, no. Yeah. Which if you're going. Some word. Trying to be a bad guy, I guess that's how you do it back then.
That'll do it.
Like Jim Cornette putting New Jack and Mustafa out there, and he's like, I don't care what we do, they're going to boo you, so let's make you bad guys. These people aren't going to like you, trust me.
Yeah.
So he does that. Fabulous Fabian teams with Chris Walker to win the Georgia All-State Tag Team titles. A huge accomplishment there. Might as well say grace now. I won't. I'll hold off, but I mean, obviously. These probably weren't even belts. They were probably some sort of old...
It was just rope. It was just a rope belt.
It was an actual belt.
Yeah. It was my dad's belt.
The promoter wanted it a rodeo, the buckle there, and he's like, it's sort of a big title belt. So from there he goes to Global Wrestling Federation. Do you remember Global on ESPN in 1991, 1992? It didn't look very good. It was clearly a lower budget operation than your WWF or WCW at the time. It was this, but for me, I was like, cool, wrestling. I put it on anyway and watched it.
Very much like the alternative football leagues. It's it's the same thing.
I'll always watch those. So I was watching all that shit at that time. Herb Abrams, UWF, I'd watch. I didn't care. Yeah. So Global here, he goes into Global. And the booker there at the time is Bill Eadie, who is the Masked Superstar and Acts of Demolition. Remember Demolition from WWF?
Do I?
They had like S&M gear on. They had like studded, and their faces painted and like gimp masks on.
What is he demoing? Like
they were just tough guys
demolition
that would
or
beat you up. Demolition, because they'd pound you.
Demolition.
Yeah, they'd give you ass demolition. So this guy's
gimp gear?
It's kind of, that's what they look like. Two huge muscular guys dressed in gimp gear that were going to pin you down and have involuntary sex with you. That's what it seemed like to me.
I mean, in hindsight, that's genius. That looks great.
Yeah. It's like Kenny versus Spenny when Kenny hired those guys. You don't watch Kenny versus Spenny. Damn it.
Not yet.
Kenny hired these guys to come bother Spenny, and they look like Demolition.
My love affair with Canadian humor lately, it's only a matter of time. I'm going to get to it.
You will love Kenny Hotz like a fucking family member. Kenny Hotz is if you morphed me and you together into a human being and then set us loose on one person who lives in our house and made it our job to be on TV and fuck with this person as much as possible. Imagine what that would be like. That's what this show is. That's fucking amazing. Torture. And then makes them do a horrible humiliation at the end of it, which is if you lose the contest. It's fantastic. Fantastic. Me and you tormenting
Spenny has
someone.
no idea that this is what he wants to do? Or
they set out a contest, and it could be something anywhere from something crazy like who can wear a gorilla suit the longest to, who can cook the better meal.
Okay.
And Kenny will
eat
cheat.
the most pretzels or some shit.
Yeah, and Kenny will cheat constantly. And Spenny is like, I'm going to do this without cheating. And I'm like, and Spenny's just a pretentious twat. You can just tell he's a pretentious twat. And Kenny is very...
So you root for it. You root for the punishment.
Yeah, you're like, fuck this guy. He's such a pretentious, just a stiff twat. He's all, he's no sense of humor. And Kenny's like, let's see how we can make him crazy. And that's the whole show.
We're going to make him cry.
It's amazing. So anyway, Bill Eadie decides that Marcus Bagwell, he's going to name him the Handsome Stranger. That's his gimmick. The Handsome Stranger, which sounds like it's from the 40s, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, if to make it a little more old school, he's the Handsome Stranger, but he's got a mask on. They put like a Lone Ranger mask on him.
Jesus.
So
he's like a male stripper?
Kind of. Looks like hiding his identity. He's the handsome stranger, but if you're saying he's handsome, take the fucking mask off him. What do we have to take your word for it? He's wearing a mask. I don't know if he's handsome. He could be disfigured under there. We don't know.
He's basically dressed as the guy that is a stripper in summer school.
Yes, there you go. Mark Harmon is very much about to kick him out of class. Yeah. It's going to happen. You know it. So anyway, he's wrestling there for a little while, and it's on ESPN. So anybody who was half decent got picked up by WCW or WWF. We're talking X-Pac, Sean Waltman, Raven, who was Scotty Flamingo at the time. Anybody who was half decent. We've talked about many guys. So Bagwell ends up getting a call from Magnum TA, who was working in the office at WCW. And the way wrestling works, too, is it's much like comedy. Hey, we're looking for a guy. I saw this guy down there. You might want to take a look at him. Kind of like that. The same thing with comedy. You know anybody who can do this? Well, I got that guy. You might want to give him a call. How many weird calls did you get out of the blue doing stand-up where you're like, so-and-so gave me your number, thought you might want to do this. It's $40, and it's in New Mexico. So can you do like 80 minutes of clean comedy for that? I'm like, what? No, I can't.
It's $40 and in San Juan.
Yeah.
You talking about another country? No, it's down near the southern border, but yeah, it's still in America.
It's technically America, but yeah, you'll like it, I think, there.
$40, though.
$40, yeah. No getting up. Well, hopefully that'll cover your gas. I don't know, but
round trip.
Round trip. So gets a call from him, and he ends up having a meeting with Dusty Rhodes, and we all know Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. Hard times, Ric Flair. So Dusty is sitting around here and ends up meeting Buff and sees Buff and goes, "He's a handsome young man." This Buff Bagwell's. He's very handsome. He's a handsome man. I think we could do something with him, is what I mean. He's a handsome young man. So that is a terrible Dusty Rhodes, but it's the best I can do.
It's as close as we got.
That's it. He's a little lispy, and I got it. He's just kind of doesn't speak that. Dusty is the funniest fucker. He has like a speech impediment and all this shit, and he's hilarious, and you can still want to hear him talk for 2 hours. He's fucking hilarious. So he ends up picking up Bagwell here and hiring him. He makes his television debut and beats Rip Rogers, who's a kind of just a journeyman veteran at that point, who's a guy who's a good worker and a guy, if you want to make somebody look good, he's a guy who can make somebody look good. So you put him in against kind of a hand shows and thing, so he looks good on TV, and he debuts on WCW's Saturday night show there, and so he ends up being in WCW. He goes under his real name, Marcus Alexander Bagwell, here for a while. First, he's just Marcus Bagwell, and then after a few weeks, he's like, I think the thing that's missing is the Alexander. I think if you put that in there.
Really got to get my middle name in this whole thing so that everybody knows just who I am.
It's very plain, Marcus Bagwell. If you give me another name, then it's snappy like a serial killer. You know what I mean? It's got something. So he's at the Clash of the Champions in January 21st, 1992, which was like a quarterly show they put on TBS that put it was almost like pay-per-view matches, sort of, kind of, they put on TV there every few months. And him and Brian Pillman, great wrestler here, beat Terry Taylor, who's the Red Rooster, if you don't know, and Tracy Smothers as well there. And then, so he goes on he becomes a tag team with the Z-Man, who is Tom Zenk, who, long story, but he ended up coming to WCW after he worked for WWF. They co-signed for his house and shit, and then he was mad that he was making less money than his partner and he quit. And
give you a place, bud.
Yeah, well, his partner was Rick Martel, who'd been like a heavyweight champion in other places, and he was a new guy. So it's like, hey, you're not going to make what that guy makes. He's the draw of the team, stupid. You're the young guy. Be happy. So anyway, but they're pushing Marcus, though, here. Super Brawl 2, which is a pay-per-view. He beats Terry Taylor there, who's going by Terrence Taylor at that point.
That's a good name.
Very good. He was like, not Terry. See, what's missing is the Terrence. Now I sound...
There's 1,000
dapper.
Terry Taylors in this country. There's
Obviously.
very few Terrences.
Very few Terrences. That's the problem here. So, him and Z-Man are beating people on TV. He does get beat at the Wrestle War pay-per-view by Scotty Flamingo, who was Raven, after Raven came in there. He and oh boy, this is fucking cool here. Him and Tom Zank, June 16th, 1992. Him and Tom Zank lose to Rick Rude and Steve Austin. Which
really?
That's cool as fuck. Yeah, a blonde-haired Steve Austin at the time, a stunning Steve Austin.
Haired.
Yeah, long blonde hair. And fucking Rick Rude is one of the most badass dudes that ever wrestled. So
yeah.
That's pretty fucking neat anyway. He loses on TV to Paul Orndorff in 93, which that's not good. That's a bad sign in 93 to lose to Paul Orndorff, really. Loses to Chris Benoit, too, as well on TV. That's when Benoit was first coming in, because he went to ECW after this. Him and Johnny B. Bad. Remember Johnny B. Bad, Jimmy?
I do not.
You don't remember Johnny B. Bad?
No.
He was like if Little Richard was a wrestler. You don't remember that guy?
No.
He'd literally go, woo! He'd do that, I swear to God. In his interview, he'd go, woo! Like Little Richard. He's not black, is the problem. He's not black, Jimmy.
You can't do that.
People thought he was black because they just acted like he was black. So they're like, he must be black. He's not fucking black, Jimmy. Dusty Rhodes was like, he just looks like Little Richard. See, I get a Little Richard vibe off him. You know, we could do that. So it's 1993. Little Richard is. I'm a kid. I'm not looking. I'm not looking to root for Little Richard at this point in my life. Like, you know what I mean? So, kind of played out by them. He looked like Little Richard. So he gives them this gimmick where, I mean, he's got a confetti gun. He comes out going, woo, and he's got this gun where he gets up on the top rope and goes poof, and like confetti shoots out of it. I'm not kidding. And his music is like a Muzak WCW knockoff of a Little Richard song, and he comes out. It's bad, bro.
Wow.
And by the way, to reiterate, he's not black is the main problem there. Not black at all. Not even a little bit black.
That's just terrible.
But they had him do that for years on national television. I mean, they made him get tan and everything. It was fucking weird, Jimmy.
I wonder how that guy's doing today.
Mark Miro, I think he was married to Sable. Remember Sable?
Really?
Yeah, that was his wife.
Oh, she was crushing life.
She was only in the WWF or E or F at the time because they hired Mark Mero, and that was his wife.
Wow.
She came with him to the interview, and Vince was like, "Who's this? Who'd you bring with you, pal? Oh boy, look at you."
Thank God she did that, because she ended up being on a Playboy cover that was
she made a fortune.
Madness.
I can't remember who said it, but there's a famous quote of some guy going, "They showed up. He was the big star. 3 months later, he was carrying her goddamn bags and worrying about what she needed to do because he was garbage and she was the star by then." Like, that's how quick.
She was magic.
She went from not in the business to a star overnight.
To on my wall.
Because Vince was horny. Literally, because Vince was like, "Look at her.
Oh, she's
going to be your manager.
Jesus.
Let's take pictures of her." So
she didn't even have to be naked, man. She, like a high cut leotard. Holy fuck, her legs were magnificent.
Yeah, so and like I said, that was just luck of finding her because she happened to be married to a guy they hired.
To that guy.
She showed up with him. So it's fucking very, very strange. And Vince was disappointed when he got there because he's like, "Oh, yeah, I can't use Johnny B. Bad. I got this guy. Who the fuck is this guy? You're not black. What's going on?" He was very confused. So here's something for you. February 13th, 1993. Shit, this is the February 7th, 93 on TV. Bagwell beats Brian Pillman.
Oh.
Okay, which is pretty big. The next week, February 13th on WCW Saturday night on TBS national television, Marcus Bagwell beats Stone Cold Steve Austin. Not Stone Cold at the time, he's stunning, but still beats Steve Austin. So he always has that under his belt there. So anyway, they're sort of pushing him again. They have there's one match that I find particularly funny because it has the two of the participants in it are the two largest penis wrestlers I've ever heard about.
Okay. Ric Flair and who?
No. Ric Flair doesn't have a big dick. He just likes taking it out.
Just like show it.
There's 3 guys in wrestling that everybody, normal guys, if you bring them up, they'll go, like, "Dick on this guy, my God." Like, it's that huge where you have to bring it up first. Not even, "Oh, great guy. I love the guy. Known him for 20 years. But have you seen his dick? It's insane." So it's Marcus Bagwell teaming up with Too Cold Scorpio, who is one of the legendary dicked guys in wrestling. Okay. They say that he would like swing it around like literally swing it around like like Eddie Murphy and Raw doing the microphone cord for the Jamaican guy. That's what they said he could actually do. And they beat Bob Cook and this is Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. I thought it was, God damn it, never mind. I thought he was managed by the character of Robert Fuller, who was the Colonel. Colonel Parker, I think he was. That was the difference.
And he's got a huge cock?
Robert Fuller is known as a humongous cocked guy as well, like ridiculous. They're like, it's a foot long if it's an inch. And then the other one is Virgil, Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man's guy. They all said his dick was ridiculous. He could wear it as a belt. It was silly. One of those Matchbox racetracks back in the day that you could just take off your belt and lay down. It would go.
Do you have any desire, like as a kid, did you ever have that even as like a young man, did you have, like, I wish this was just enormous? Because there was like a week that I wished that, and then I was like, nah.
I don't think I ever really thought about it. Like, I never wanted a circus penis, really. Like, I wish this...
No.
I'd like something that people are scared of when they see it. Isn't a thought I came with. No. You don't want scared. That's not the what you're going for, there. So.
Anybody I show it to, I want them to go, no problem.
Or at least, all right. Or not like, oh, God, Jesus. Wait a minute. Hold on a second here. We're going to have to figure this out.
I've seen porn where guys two-hand it, James, and like... It's crazy. I've seen these enormous ones, and I'm like, I don't want that. That's way too much.
Just too much. It's just too much penis.
Congratulations on your 8 inches of dry dick, because you're not getting all that inner.
From what I understand, every one of these guys are like, foot long, ridiculous penises.
That's absurd.
Absurd penises. These two guys, and it's not even not racial. It's two black guys and a white guy. Robert Fuller's an old white guy with a giant cock, and then the other two are black dudes. But
giant old man dick.
Very strange. Giant southern old man cock. So, 94, they put Marcus in a tag team with the Patriot, who was Del Wilkes, and he was exactly what he sounds like. He's a guy in a mask that has, like, stars and stripes and red, white, and blue on it and shit. And they become Stars and Stripes.
Oh, my.
That's their tag team name. And, they actually beat Harlem Heat on March 26, 1994. They beat Harlem Heat because Harlem Heat was pretty new still. So, which is, God, that's ridiculous. After that, 95, they put him in a different tag team where I assume they're basically supposed to be like a team of 2 male strippers that are coming to do a bachelorette party. That's the only thing I can think of. They're called the American Males, which that sounds like...
That's American Thunder Down Under.
That's what it sounds like. And it's him and Scotty Riggs, and they have like their hair slicked, and Scotty Riggs has long hair and he's got it all slicked back, and Marcus has the little Caesar do that he has. He rides this Caesar do to the end, too. It's a hard Caesar, too. It's not even... It's a hard Caesar. Like, it's got hard lines on it, that haircut.
I did that for so long. Longer than I'd like to
sculpted your eyebrows.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you sculpted your eyebrows like this guy, though. He looked ridiculous. Marcus
Mine was
Bagwell.
just at the, I don't know, fucking right at the top, right at the tippy top.
Yeah, you just pushed your hair forward, and we're like, there, good.
There was nothing else I could do. I've never been blessed with shit to do up there.
You always said even when you had hair, it wasn't good hair, you said.
No.
You were like, it was terrible hair and it didn't work anyway. I'm glad it fell out. You're like, it just didn't work for me.
I'm fine with this. I don't give a shit. It's so funny. Bad.
Bad hair. I had terrible hair. On an edition of WCW Saturday Night, he has a singles match with Ric Flair in 1995, and Flair beats him, obviously.
Yeah.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles...
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
Then he's fighting Pillman back and forth. He teams with Johnny B. Bad for some reason on one night and loses there. Arn Anderson and Ric Flair as a tag team, who are a great tag team, obviously. They beat Marcus Bagwell and Jim Duggan. So Hacksaw. He teams with Hacksaw, which is a very strange team. This is kind of just a snapshot of this era here. The American males beat Harlem Heat on September 18th, 1995 to win the WCW World Tag Team Championships.
Wow.
The American males. And then September 25th, 9 days later, Harlem Heat beats them to win them back. So they did have a 9-day run, though. So that's something. It's sometime in the mid-90s where I can't overstate his vanity. I can't. Yeah. It's not an act. It's real. His whole I'm buff and he's adjusting his eyebrows. That's just real. He just turns that up. They always say in wrestling it's the same as comedy. You are yourself, but turned up to 11 is the thing. Yeah. If you're a 1, normally you do it to an 11. And that's kind of what your craziest thoughts in comedy, you take you and your like weirdest part of you and your weirdest
multiply
thoughts. And some people do characters. I mean, obviously, which that's not really anymore too much, but
no, it's
like Andrew
rare,
Dice Clay is a character. That's not Andrew. That's not him at all.
No.
People get mad at him, and it's like, are you stupid?
You paying attention?
Yeah, that's like satire. I get that you don't like the jokes. That's fine, but you're not mad at Carol O'Connor because he said something on All in the Family back. Like it's not. It's a character. He's an actor. Like he's acting. He's like, wouldn't it be crazy if there was some comic who's like this? I'm not like that because my last name's Silverstein. So obviously it's not me. That's his last name. He's like, clearly I'm not that guy, but I've seen that guy around the neighborhood, and this is what he's like, and he would be an asshole like this.
I'm barely Italian. I'm mostly Jewish.
That's what I mean. So it's like, anyway, I don't know. Some people who weren't around might see that later on and go, oh, God, that's super offensive, and you have to know, like, that Dice, he wasn't like that. Like, even at clubs, he's known as the nicest to the staff. He's known as the least creepy with women.
Right.
Doesn't do that shit at all.
Right.
Helps
He's
young
not a
comics.
misogynist like
Always
that, right?
helped him. Not a misogynist at all.
Right.
Gives women gigs and also is very respectful. And Sarah worked at the comedy club and said that he was like Uncle Dice, basically. You know what I mean? Like he was not even the least bit creepy. He was like, I'm an old man. How's everybody doing tonight, young ladies? You know, like I get everybody some coffee. Is that good?
Thanks for coming out. Hey.
Not even you look great. Is everybody doing all right? Can I help anybody tonight? He's just a nice guy. So he's just an old Jewish guy. He's not.
You need somebody to walk you.
It's an act, everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that you have to like Dice's act, but it was an act, and you know, it's much like wrestling. Right. But this is not an act, is what I'm getting at. This is not an act for him.
The vanity, he loves
the
it.
Vanity.
It's just him.
He's so vain that he gets he gets some surgery to a part of his body that he's not happy with. He's just not happy with it. What do you think a wrestler might get a surgery on to enhance his look because he's not happy with his body?
Lipo. Pull the waist in a smidge.
No. He's got no fat on him. It's
nothing.
not that at all. No. He's not. A part of him is not as muscular as he would like.
The ass? Did he give himself ass implants?
He got calf implants. How vain do you have to be to even notice your calves?
Yeah, they are. Muscle builders will tell you, have you ever tried to build calves? If you've ever tried to build calves, you will see how fucking hard that really is. And yeah, I can see him doing it, just going the lazy way and just saying, put shit in there.
No one cares, though.
No
one ever looked at him and goes, fucking calves on this weak bitch. Like, no one ever thought that. He's got 22-inch arms. No one's like, fucking calves on you, dude. They're weak, bro.
How do you hold those? Your sticks are a smidge little.
It's so fucking funny. So Eric Bischoff was asked about this later on, because this didn't come out till later. Like, this wasn't even in the dirt sheets and shit like that. Eric Bischoff, who was the boss at the time in WCW, he said, I remember when it happened, just the ribbing. I mean, I don't know how Dave Meltzer or anybody else hadn't heard about this, because the entire roster was laughing and talking about it. It took a long time for Marcus to live that down. A long time. Nobody... Yeah, nobody even tried to hide the fact that they were having a great time at Bagwell's expense by laughing and joking about this. The thing they were laughing about was he got an infection when they exploded. One of them exploded, so he had to take time off and get them taken out, and it was a big procedure before he came back. So Bischoff says, I do remember it, the ribbing he took. I can only imagine how he felt coming back. I think the only reason he was able to come back and work his way through it is because he was so vain and didn't care. Wow. Wandering
around with one big calf. Are they like silicone?
They're silicone. That's what they were. They were saline, I think they were. Yeah. And he had an infection in there, and then one of them burst, and it was a fucking disaster. He said he probably felt at the time that having massive calves was one of the most important things in his life. Maybe the reason he wore long tights is because he felt insecure about his minuscule calves. I don't know. Because he did. He wore long tights always. He wore the pant tights. And
covering up his calves.
Covering up those weak-ass calves. He was like, I can't let my calves out, man. They're just weak.
So funny.
It's hilarious. Yeah. So, and Bischoff that's the best way to put it. So 1996, he gets a role in a movie.
Oh.
He gets a movie role here. He'll do a bunch of really bad movies. Really bad.
I like that.
This one looks really bad. It's called Day of the Warrior, and it has what appear to be two... there's no kind way to say this. What would you say those ladies are dressed like, Jimmy, or looking like with?
Oh, those are hookers, James.
They look like, yes, they look like, they look like a costume. If you said, look like a Vegas prostitute, go.
Right.
And that's what they look like, but with automatic weapons in their hands. That's the cover of the fucking thing. So that tells you a lot of what's going on here.
The tightest leather top. There's nothing going under it. It's not a jacket. It's not that's your leather top.
The one's got like a bustier with diamonds on it. They're in the jungle with machine guns. That's what I'm saying. This isn't this isn't like they were going out for a night on the town and decided to open fire. They look like they were going on a Rambo mission with 6-inch stilettos on, which is the sign of a bad movie.
Super comfortable.
A little unrealistic, you know. I didn't see Uma Thurman and fucking Kill Bill dressing up like this to go out and get her business done. It's hindering to the action is what I'm getting at.
A little bit, yeah.
So this is called Day of the Warrior. It's from 1996, and the agency's computer database is compromised by a powerful criminal named the Warrior. Oh. Now, with the list of all the undercover agents' identities in hand, he's going after them one by one. Hot girl
black book
after hot girl, and he plays the Warrior. Marcus Bagwell does. I don't think he's in it very much, but he plays the Warrior in this movie. Yeah. So this movie, not good. Ted Pryor's in this movie, which is a very bad sign. He's in a lot of famously bad shitty action movies that are direct to video in the mid 80s. It's very famously bad movie actor.
What made action movies go away so fast?
I don't know. I think they're expensive to produce, number one. And they cost a few bucks. Explosions are expensive.
And they're awful.
Yeah, you have to have a lot of people supervising, and I think that's what it was. Plus, they were just kind of out of fashion I think, honestly, the fucking Berlin Wall falling is what killed action movies. I'm not even kidding. We had, who before it was just easy. Oh, it's a Russian, whatever the fuck. You could just say that, and everyone was like, cool. That's, Rambo's got to go against them because they're hooked up with the Russians, obviously. That's how it works. Whereas after that happened, we were like, I don't know, who are you going to blow up, really? Who are you going to blow up now? Calm down.
Right. Like True Lies is maybe the last one where it was like,
yeah, and that's a satire.
Yeah,
of the whole genre. Schwarzenegger made that and Last Action Hero, like in this year period, they were both satires of his whole career, which I thought was kind of funny.
I loved Last Action Hero. I was into that.
Known as a terrible movie, but I enjoyed it too, actually. I saw it in the Dollar Theater in Arizona when it was like 114 degrees outside. So it's like, I'll see this. I liked it. What do you want? Is that right? So, wow, he beats Pez Whatley in 96 on WCW Saturday Night. Pez Whatley must have been a fucking 100 at that point. He looked old in the mid-'80s. I don't know where they pulled him out from. Finally, here in late December, early January 1997, Bagwell ends up turning on Scotty Riggs, his American Males partner, leaving him lying, fucks him up, and he joins the New World Order.
Yes.
So
this was the shit.
The New World Order was pretty cool, and I'll go over this extra super briefly here. New World Order are Scott Hall, Kevin Nash came from WWF to WCW, hired them away. They're looking for some way to put them in. Didn't have the New World Order idea right away, but they brought them in as these outside guys.
Right.
They had the pay-per-view with Bash at the Beach where they had supposed to be 3-on-3, Nash and Hall and their secret partner versus 3 WCW guys. It was Luger, Sting, and Macho Man. So they had it like that where they had it so Luger gets like injured. They do it that way. So he has to be like carried out in the middle of the match. So it's 2-on-2. And then they like beat Sting down outside. And then they have Macho Man in the ring all fucked up. And it's Hall and Nash is beating the shit out of a prone Macho Man on the canvas. And then Hulk Hogan pops out of down the aisle. And it's like, oh, he's going to kick some ass now. That's right. And he comes in and Hall and Nash clear out of the ring. Like, we don't want to fuck with him. And then he leg drops Macho Man and leg drops him again. And then cuts a huge promo saying how, all my fans can kiss my ass. And I'm tired of this. And you people are garbage. And screw this. And we're the new thing now. And fuck you. And it was pretty, it's the last time I've ever seen like the ring fill up with shit like that and it being for real. Not now the fans do it, but they're like, let's do that thing where we fill the ring up with shit and throw it in there like back then. This was actually people were like, fuck you. I just bought this fucking t-shirt for my kid for $30 fucking and now you're going to be a bad guy? Eat my cock. People
You're not
were
even
mad.
wearing red and yellow, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, people were literally pissed. I just bought a foam finger, you fucking twat. Are you joking? This thing was $14. And now you're fucking not even wearing his colors anymore? I will kick your balls in, sir.
I was a Hulkamaniac, and now you're wearing black and white, talking about Hollywood. Doesn't even sound like Hulkamania.
No.
What are you doing?
God damn it. My kid is crying, you asshole. I paid so I could come here and tell my kid, it's just a thing. I don't fucking know. So anyway, they became the New World Order, and then they started picking up different people from the, around them and building this big giant thing. And then it eventually swelled to like, I don't know, half the fucking roster. And it was a big joke, but it was really cool at first. So,
it was so rad.
It was cool. And Buff was one of the first people to be in it. He was one of the first WCW people to join that wasn't like an old WWF guy. Right. And so he came in and it actually mattered still when he came in. It wasn't when they were just getting everybody, because after a while they had like, IRS in there. They had fucking, Virgil. They had all these fucking people in there.
It was so deep. Like the video game, you were like, I don't even know who to choose. There's so many to choose from. This is
so many.
It's
no,
like
that was great. PlayStation 1.
It's like a menu at the goddamn Cheesecake Factory.
It's like, there's more pages. I thought this was drinks back here.
Jesus, there's another page. What the fuck?
It's just pastas. I thought it was drinks, but there's another 2 pages of pastas. How many pastas can you make?
I don't know who to pick. This is fucking exhausting.
I guess I'll take Buff Bagwell and the bow tie pasta. That's all I can imagine. So he becomes, at this point, part of the cool group of wrestling. He's not, because before that he was always like lame Bagwell, stop pushing him down our throats, and like the American Males. Even their theme song was bad. The American Males. It was fucking bad, dude. It was embarrassing. It was fucking embarrassing.
Well, I mean, he was handsome Poppy. He may as well have poppy ass music with it.
Yeah, but it just made everybody hate him, though. No one liked him. Anyway, so now he is, at this point, he is no longer Marcus Alexander Bagwell. He is Buff Bagwell at this point. I got to say, grace. This is grace. It's all working out for him at this point. It really is. I mean, through 97, he's fucking killing it with WCW. He's got the buff blockbuster as his move.
Yeah.
He starts really looking like a douchebag, though. This is the douchebag buff era where he's... Remember the top hat, Jimmie?
Did he have a gimmick like that?
Oh, for years. He wore... And it'll come up later because it got him in trouble. It's like a Mad Hatter style top hat that he wears, but less exaggerated on the. And it says like buff and like, flames and shit on it.
Jesus.
I have a picture of him wearing that hat and a pair of overalls with no shirt, and the overalls have a big giant thing on the plate on the chest that it says buff with it's all flames and shit.
Oh my! Like a metal plate that's all inflamed.
I think so. It's the douchiest combo I've ever seen a human being put on their body. It's awesome. I'll post that as one of the pictures on social media because it's crazy. At Crime and Sports, if you want to see that, it's hilarious. So, or at Small Town Murder on Instagram. So this is the douche buff era. In '98, he gets another part in a movie.
Really?
Look at you. It is Lethal, but Lethal. It's an acronym. Lethal. Lethal Ladies return to
L period E period.
Yeah. Lethal Ladies return to Savage Beach.
Okay.
And this is
like it sounds like a sequel.
There you go.
It's not.
Yeah, it is. A stolen computer floppy disk filled with information about the location of a mythical treasure in Savage Island will lure both villains and lethal agents into a dangerous treasure hunt. Look at her on there with her gun. This is
and her tits out.
Yeah, this stars Julie Strain, who I think she was in the other one too. Yes, she was, and I looked her up. She's in a bunch of like softcore porn and like
really,
and a lot of like foot fetish videos. Her IMDb is. She's got like a lot of weird like people jerking off on her feet and shit. I don't know what's going on there.
Get after it, Julie.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, your work is work. I don't know. do whatever you do. So, 1998. He's in a match against Rick Steiner, and remember the Steiner brothers.
Yeah,
Rick is the non-blonde one, the guy who didn't go blonde and crazy. The Big Papa Pump is Scott, his brother. Rick was the one who kind of looked like was kind of hunched over a little bit, and looks like a normal guy with a big walrus mustache.
Right, that's what I remember.
So Rick gives him or attempts to maneuver a bulldog, which is very easy move. A bulldog, not easy. I'm not a wrestler, but I mean it's a very common move
to the others. Yeah,
it's not a move that's like a risky move they just came up with. They've been doing it since the 40s. It's not you get a guy in a headlock and run and you jump on the ground like you're driving his head into the ground. It's basically you both jump up and just flop on the ground.
Right.
Somehow Buff actually got his neck tweaked in this and his head tweaked and ended up breaking his neck on this maneuver in 1998. Yeah, he actually broke his neck on this. And if you look at it, it's just weird looking. It's just
crumble the Steiner.
Yeah, it's just too much of an angle. So Buff has a broken neck now. So yeah.
Oh, Steiner crumbled him.
Yeah, Steiner gives him the bulldog and breaks his neck. So Buff has a broken neck at this point.
Oh no.
He says he's laying in the ring here. You know what? Let's give him in their own words on this because this is this is him lying in the ring thinking he's paralyzed. So I feel like this needs music. What do you say? In their own words, quote, "At this point, I'm 100% convinced that this is a big statement. I'm convinced I'm paralyzed. I swear to God, my mind went to, you know what? You can do what Christopher Reeve is doing. You can go to schools. I really turned a negative into a positive situation in a matter of seconds."
He's laying on the ground
in
the middle of an arena thinking he's paralyzed going, and then mapping out the remainder of his career.
The people are still walking around him. They don't even know he's hurt yet. And he's like, I'll be Christopher Reeve. I can do this. Like, where's the pony?
Go to schools and give speeches.
There's a pony around here somewhere. It must be, right? Where the fuck is that son of a bitch? If you don't get that reference, if you're not a patron, on the Patreon XFL episode, Vince McMahon says that he is, we got to tell everybody because we're going to use this reference all the time. Vince McMahon has a statement that he said, I'm the eternal optimist. If there's a pile of manure under the Christmas tree, there must be a pony, which is fucking amazing.
So now Buff's laying paralyzed in an arena going, where's the pony?
Where's the pony? There's got to be a pony here somewhere. And the pony is that. Now, that's just interesting. He said that he never like asked God why it was happening to him, and he said he never cried either because he said it was just too surreal for him to process. This is also happening in 5 minutes, so you could also be in shock as well. You just broke your neck is another issue.
Also, I mean, Christopher Reeve did pretty well there going to schools and speeches, I imagine.
Yeah,
Probably made a bunch of money.
Yeah, he did, but he was also Superman.
Right.
So that's the difference.
In several movies, not just Buff Bagwell in a couple video games.
At the end of it, he can go, no matter what your situation, you can still be Superman. That's what he can say at the end, and the kids go, oh my God, I'm inspired. This guy, they're like, why do you have your hair like that?
Right.
You have skinny calves, you know that? The kids are picking on him.
Why'd you ask me to fix your eyebrows for you?
You asked me to line up your brows? Like, no, I'm not doing that. Absolutely
Lick
not.
my finger? What are you doing?
He did say that by the time he was loaded into the ambulance, he could move his fingers and toes. That's
a relief.
So he said that was good. Eric Bischoff, Lex Luger, and Sting rode with him in the ambulance to the hospital. Now, by the way, him and Luger should just never be together because every time something dumb happens for a few year period, either if Buff does it, Luger's with him, or if Luger does it, Buff is with him. It's fucking ridiculous. When we do the Luger episode, Buff will come up a lot. It's silly. So, and we will do a Luger episode because I found a shitload more arrests on him than I thought there was looking through this. So I was like, whoa, he's got a long record. So they go to the hospital with him. He says, quote, we got to the hospital and they wheeled me out and I was all drooped over the wheelchair. And as soon as I got into the waiting room, I popped up with a double bicep pose. And they were like, oh, my God, what happened? Why are you okay? And at that stage, they realized I had a bruised spinal cord.
That's all
Not
it was.
A broken neck. That's what they thought it was a broken neck at first.
Lucky.
And got him in the whole thing. And then he pops up flexing. And they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So
I've been telling my body to do this since he pile drove me. And
it just happened.
It just listened, finally.
I meant to do this after the match. You know, this is
Right.
my thing. I hit the double bicep because that's his pose always. He's got that thing and he smiles and he kisses his biceps.
Them, yeah.
He has a whole thing where he like gets down on one knee and does it. And he's like, oh, I'm so pretty. Look at me. Oh, God, I'm amazing. And he means it. That's what's bad. He actually, I can't imagine what kind of a fucking circus this was. But do you remember the old Politically Incorrect show hosted by Bill Maher on ABC, which was actually a fun show in the late 90s because they'd have a bunch of weird people on and they'd argue about the issues of the day.
Right. It was before politics fucking hurt people. Which is crazy.
This was, they'd just go back and forth and people could literally argue about politics and then afterwards they'd forget what they were talking
giggle
about.
and move on.
It wasn't as vicious.
Affecting friendships and families.
yeah. It was less life or death, I think, at a point, too, back then.
True. Yeah.
So, December 10th, 1999, he's on Politically Incorrect. Not just him, also Sting, Medusa, the ladies champion of WWE, who came over there and dumped her belt in the garbage can and really pissed Vince off to where he would never hire her again because she did that.
Really?
That was one of the requirements of her coming there was you still have your belt, you got to dump it in a garbage can on live television. And otherwise, I'm not hiring you. So she did it. What are you going to do? You need a job, you need a job.
I think that's a great move, too, though, by the way. The owner of the Diamondbacks likes to find people in visiting gear and offer them free Diamondbacks gear if they throw that shit in the trash.
Oh,
right
God,
now, it's not
awful.
an even swap. That's not an even swap.
No, it's not an even swap. You have garbage. I'd be like, oh, thanks. I need a napkin. I forgot one. I have these nachos. They're very messy. So give me the jersey of that guy I've never heard of in right field, and we'll do this.
The guy you just brought up from AAA. Give me that. Yeah.
Give me him. Oh, and in addition to Sting, Medusa, and Bagwell, Bobby Heenan was on the show, which Bobby Heenan could talk circles around he's the greatest talker of all time in wrestling. So, him on there would have been hilarious. That night on the Late Late Show with Craig Kilborn, it's right under it in the newspaper, Farrah Fawcett and Martin Mull on there. Oh, boy. That's something. And then Kevin Spacey and Christina Applegate are on Late Night with Conan O'Brien.
Jesus.
So there you go.
Not talking about cancer or diddling boys.
That's what I mean. With talking about probably that sitcom she had on NBC in the late 90s, and then he was in movies. Who the fuck?
Probably
American Beauty.
Beauty.
Yeah, it's 99. Fuck, he's an Oscar, up for Oscars and shit. So May 9th, 2000, it is Monday Nitro, the big Monday night show here. And this is ridiculous, man. It's in Springfield, Illinois, just central Illinois, nice little kind of mid-sized college town. After the show, there's a production worker in backstage named Daryl Miller. Now, this Miller guy apparently was carrying a big carpet through the backstage area, and he's a crew guy, so he's got shit to do. As people like us, it's not a wrestling crew, but when we do stage shows, so we're at theaters, there's crew people moving shit all around. If you see a crew person carrying a big thing, you get the fuck out of their way.
Fuck yeah.
They're busy, and they're taking something somewhere, probably to facilitate what you're doing.
Right,
so
making your show happen.
You get the fuck out of their way, and you go, oh, excuse me, man. Hell, no, yeah, after you got stuff going on. Yeah. When I'm on stage, that's my time, and you get the fuck out of the way. Every other time, I'll get the fuck out of the way. I'm doing nothing. I'm useless right now.
I'm not doing a stand-up show in the middle of your carpet moving, and then in the exact same flip of that coin, don't run that carpet across my stage when I'm up there.
That's it. That's the fucking rules here. Now, apparently, they were trying to get through a door in the backstage area. He wanted to get through, but in front of the door was Bagwell, Lex Luger, of course, and Elizabeth, Macho Man Savage's ex-wife, who is now with Lex Luger.
Okay.
So they're all standing there talking. Now, apparently, the guy was coming. He said, "Hey, can you guys move out of the way so I can get through here?" Buff said, "We're busy. We're talking. So you got to wait." This guy's carrying a big carpet. Like, dude, come on. No, we're busy right now. It was just he didn't want to be told what to do by someone, quote, beneath him. That's all it was. So apparently words were exchanged from this. And then Bagwell decided to, and this is a quote from the police report, quote, punched him upside the neck.
Upside the neck,
as the Daryl Miller man put it. He was punched upside his neck. So much so that he was left with a big fist print by the time the police were there to figure this out. Why would you punch a crew member in the neck because they're trying to move a carpet? That is...
It's because you missed his head.
You missed his head, probably, yeah.
It was a bad shot.
So he's charged with assault for this.
Wow.
You can't punch fucking people in the neck. And this guy was like, fuck him. I'm not taking this shit. He's charged, filed a battery charge against him. It took a week for him to file the charge, and then he ends up being arrested for that, and he'll go to court for it later on. But that is pretty ridiculous. You're fucking beating up crew members and getting arrested for it. That's one of the more asshole things. Just
truly,
she's just an asshole, egotistical thing of anybody we've ever covered. Of like, we've never had in all of our time somebody like beat up a clubhouse guy or something in baseball, or some dude who works in the back of a football game. We've never heard that before. Yeah. That's crazy. You have to be a special kind of asshole. Mm-hmm. Usually fight with other people, not like you that you work with.
Right.
Fuck. So anyway, WCW immediately suspends him for 30 days for this.
As he should, yeah.
As he should. Because otherwise the crew's going to fucking revolt. You need these people. They're the ones who are making the television show happen. You need the wrestlers, obviously. They're the talent. But if the camera's fucked up, well, guess what? Who cares about what the wrestlers are doing? So you need these people. So in order to, I think, to keep morale up, they suspend Buff for 30 days, saying that they stand behind their employees, and they're sending a message that the wrestlers are not allowed to do anything like this with employees. They have to treat them with respect and all that kind of shit, which is good. That's actually smart. So 2000 here, he's in a movie as well. So the year picks up for him. He's in a movie called Terror Tract, with a T. Terror Tract. It is starring John Ritter.
CKT?
TRACT. Tract.
Okay.
So
like a urinary infection.
Like a urinary tract infection. Yeah. This is a real estate agent terrifies a couple with the grim fates of the previous owners of a house they're looking at.
Okay. That's American Horror Stories.
Kind of like half Pacific Heights and half fucking American Horror Story. If you mix those together, that's what it sounds like. So Pacific Heights, was that Michael Keaton, I think, back in the day?
He just turned 70.
I love Michael Keaton.
I'm blown away that he's 70.
I love I just watched Night Shift again like 2 nights ago.
He's amazing.
Night Shift is top 3 all-time comedy for me. I just love it. It's just
he's an amazing actor.
He's so good, man. I just love him. He's so ridiculous in that movie. Yeah. It's his first movie, so he's like he's real raw in it, but he's funny. He's just good.
I like him because he's also got He's got because he's a stand-up comedian. That's why he's so good. Yeah, he's got this raw sex appeal that's real too. That like he's not a handsome man,
raw sex
but like that
appeal.
guy
Where'd you
just
get
is.
That from?
To me, he
this
just
is what Jimmie
oozes,
pulls out. He's got a raw sex appeal. I don't know what it is about him. His calves are very attractive to me.
Raw sex appeal. I love him.
I love Michael Keaton. I've always said is the poor man's Tom Hanks. I've always felt like if you can't get Tom Hanks, go get Michael Keaton because he'll do probably just about as good a job. Maybe not in Philadelphia, but if you give him fucking, most of the roles he's been in, I think he'd do just as good a job, honestly.
Yeah.
He's good. If you get, I think he could do Castaway. Michael Keaton by himself can do shit. He's funny. He could have been in like The Money Pit. He could have been in The Burbs. He could have been in any of those 80s comedies. Yeah. I feel like because he was great back then,
and he would have been just as good or better.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's not
the dramatic actor like you said, Philadelphia.
And he is now too because he was nominated for an Oscar. He did Birdman, and he was great. Yeah. So he's a great actor.
God, he's so good.
Yeah, he didn't get a chance to do a lot of drama. He's the best fucking Batman because he actually seems like a human being, not some weird fucking thing. Batman's a real guy who dresses up. He's not he's not a fucking nuclear radiation affected freak. He's a fucking real guy who just happens to be rich and buys lots of gadgets. Right. So why does he act like he's not like that in the new movies? I don't understand that.
And why does he have to have some fucking weird gruff voice when that's not his fucking voice?
Yeah, we talked about that with
why put that shit on?
He's with
in
Alfred.
All of them, though.
He's with Alfred, who's helping him get dressed, and he's like, it's like, why are you putting the voice on for him? He knows you're Batman, stupid. He knows who you are because you have a fucking head and the rest of the suit's not on you. You fucking idiot. He polished the Batmobile last night. Dumb shit. He packed you literally some carrots in a little thing and put in the cup holder of the Batmobile so you'd have a snack when you got done fucking fighting the Joker.
I'd venture to say the real superhero here is Alfred.
It's Alfred. So use your regular voice and respect that man. Anyway, Terror Tract, year 2000, stars John Ritter and David DeLuise, who
Dom's brother?
No, Dom's kid. I've met one of the DeLuise kids at this movie premiere, my friend of mine that I went to, and I can't remember which one, if it's David or Peter.
Oh, but it's him.
Nice guy, one of them, David or Peter. Real nice guy. I think it's David because Peter's more of a big fat face on him, I think, and David's
more
got
Dom than not.
Yeah, exactly. He's got more of a Dom looking face, whereas David doesn't look as much like him. So I think it was David, but nice guy anyway. Yeah. So he's in that movie, like that matters. On Christmas Eve 2000, he goes to court for assault on the crew guy, and he is sentenced to, you, sir, may fuck off, 20 hours of community service. And he is fined $500. You bad, sir, bad.
Damn it.
He said that he thought the guy, this was his excuse why he did it. Quote, he was being pushy.
Yeah. And so we punch people for that?
So you punch someone in the neck, apparently, for that. This doesn't require him to plead guilty. It's just some other kind of, one of those, whatever they do, adjudication of whatever the fuck. So anyway, one thing I found here that I have to point out, it's not really the sales, Jimmie the sales, but right next to this article is an ad for cell phones from 2000.
How much?
Think about how great your plan is now compared to this. Like,
I remember.
If you're like 22, you don't know how fucking bad it used to be. This is a free digital cellular telephone. First of all, is the ad here
from who? What's the company?
You're on the Verizon network, but it's Money Talk Cellular and Wireless Inc. is where you get the phone. You get all this shit, free car charger and leather case. Wow. Here's are the plans. Okay. What is this? For $450, for $20 a month, you can get 50 anytime minutes and 450 night and weekend minutes.
500 minutes on the phone.
500 total minutes for the week for $20. Wow. You could have
the month.
Or the month.
Yeah.
The month, not even the week.
That's insane.
Or for $30 a month, you could get 300 anytime minutes and unlimited night and weekends.
Okay.
And then for $55 a month, this is if you're a big baller here, 700 anytime minutes and unlimited nights and weekends. Okay. But you used to have to count your minutes, everybody. That's a thing that happened.
It's unbelievable. You have to be like, call me tonight.
Yeah. Call me past 8 or 7, whenever the night started. I remember it was
crazy.
Like that. Or then if you had someone who was on the same network as you could talk and it didn't count.
Yeah.
It was like, awesome.
Yeah.
Are you on Verizon? Sweet. Okay, we can talk then. Otherwise, I was going to hang up on you.
I've been with T-Mobile since 2001 with Verizon. Well, it was VoiceStream then when Jamie Lee Curtis was the spokesperson. And I've never left, and they still treat me like I'm a piece of shit when I call them. I want to tell them, I've had this shit for 20 fucking years.
They're like, yeah, you and everybody else.
Put a little respect on my name.
Put a star on my account, would you? So Buff here then forms a tag team with Lex Luger in 2000 called Totally Buff.
Oh, boy.
Because, they're both pretty buff.
So that has nothing to do with Lex. It's all me. Totally me.
He's totally because he's the total package. That's why.
Yeah,
he's the total package Lex Luger, and he's Buff Bagwell. So they're totally buff. Yeah, that's how they do it.
That makes sense.
Pretty stupid. Oh, his other tag team before this with Scott Norton, that big giant guy, was Vicious and Delicious as well.
I kind of like that.
He was the Delicious, obviously. So,
I want us to go by that now.
Vicious and Delicious. I like it. That's pretty good stuff.
You take a choice.
Who's who? And you go, you tell me.
It's on you.
And then you wink.
You
go, you tell me, wink. That's you're like, what?
Depends on Depends how you're feeling.
Not sure. Depends on what you're in the mood for. We just won't tell you who's what.
That's what it is.
That is fucking hilarious. Oh, man. So, anyway, he got some, like I said, he's tag teaming with Lex Luger. They have a stupid nickname. February of 2001, he is in an episode of Charmed.
Oh.
Yeah, with Shannon Doherty and Alyssa Milano and what the hell else is in this? Yeah, it's a terrible show, but I guess not if you're like into like witch shows. I guess it's pretty cool. So
30-year-old women pretending to be 19 is weird.
It is a little strange. It's a little on the creepy side. Yeah. So that's so common though. I was watching. Have you watched AP Bio yet?
Not yet, because it's on fucking Peacock. It's not on anything else, and I'm furious about it.
It's fucking phenomenal, by the way. If you haven't watched it, AP Bio, if you can find it somewhere, fantastic with Glenn Howerton as the teacher. And the kids in it are phenomenal. They're so funny. I started looking them up. I'm like, man, I'm so impressed with such a young crop of like teenage fucking funny actors. Like it's so hard to be funny at a young age like that. I was just so impressed. I'm like, are they in anything else? They're all 26. They're all 26. The youngest one's like 22. Like seriously, I'm like, wow. But they still look young, and you don't. They literally they look. It's a great fucking show. But I'm like, that's right. Yeah, you're not funny like that when you're 16. That's right.
That's what happened.
You don't have that.
Kicked you a few times because you're old enough to have it.
You don't get it yet. Okay.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
So He's on an episode called Wrestling with Demons. Obviously, it's got wrestling in it.
Clever.
And when Prue discovers that one of her ex-boyfriends is being led down the path to becoming a demon, I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
You know how many ex-girlfriends I've lost to demonic possession? It's just all of them.
So common. Yeah.
So common. I just let it happen. I mean, it's none of my business anymore.
Got to write them off.
But she, Piper, and Phoebe risk their lives in an underworld wrestling ring to save his soul. And obviously, he's one of the wrestlers, basically. Right. I'm sure he's like the demon wrestler or some shit. So it's at this point Vince takes over Nitro, buys WCW.
Yeah.
And the last episode of Nitro is Vince McMahon standing there in the fucking ring, which is obviously nuts. I mean, it was like, what the fuck is happening here? Yeah. It was a simulcast in the beginning of Raw and Nitro were the same thing. It was like, whoa, this is trippy. So he says that because the guys didn't even know it was happening. Right. Like, just Vince and Shane showed up and they were like, how's it going? Or Vince was at Raw and Shane was here. I can't remember how it worked, but apparently Shane was the one who showed up over here. Mm-hmm. And he said he just walked in and he said, quote, "Hey, my name's Shane McMahon. I own the company. My dad bought the company today, so now we own the WCW. We're going to keep some wrestlers. We're going to get rid of some wrestlers. We're going to keep some referees. We're going to get rid of some referees. We're going to keep some office talent. We're going to fire some office talent. Good luck. See you later." And he walked away. Welcome. That's fucking wild. So they're all...
That is shitty.
That's on purpose, obviously. Yeah. Vince loves to make people, scramble for their jobs. It's his favorite thing in the world. So he said that they weren't even on the show, him and Lex Luger, and they were the tag team champions. So they thought that was weird. He said, I didn't think that was a good sign, and I started to leave. And he said then his dad called him, and he said, "Where are you at?" And he said, "I'm heading home." And he said they just did a big thing in the ring in Cleveland with Vince via satellite because he was at Raw. Right. And with him and his son, Vince with his son, and Vince named 5 people. I'm not saying this because I'm your dad, but he named you 1 out of 5. Because he was saying, Vince was asking the crowd like gladiator style, like, do we want some of these guys over here or do we want to fire them all? Should we just get rid of all these guys or do we keep some of them? Tell you what do you think of this guy? And he'd have them like cheer or boo, whether they... Yeah, they're going to let them... It's fucking disgusting, honestly.
Like he's Caesar.
Yeah, exactly. I get that, like, for him, he's triumphing over them, but it's disgusting to make fucking people who work for a living scramble like that. That's just... I realize if it was a character, it'd be one thing, but it's him. He's getting off on this shit.
Also, if you're fired in front of an audience that's like your office, if there's like 13 people there, that's embarrassing enough. But he's firing people like in front of like 20,000 people. That's fucked up, man.
He did Sting, Luger, Goldberg, Hogan, and Bagwell. Those are the 5 he asked the crowd about.
Really?
Yeah. So those are 5 of the biggest stars, 4 besides Bagwell, 4 of the biggest stars there are in wrestling, period. So to put Bagwell in that group, he says, quote, "I was in the 5, which was huge, and of all things, I got a good pop. I mean, the second biggest one. I didn't know until I watched it back. All my top talent buddies, Luger and Sting, said, bro, you're fine. If he mentions your name on TV, you're in."
You're still,
because he had a contract, and a lot of the guys didn't. Vince was offering people buyouts for, pennies on the dollar of their long-term deals that they had with WCW because basically they could either keep their contracts and get paid fully because it was Time Warner that they had contracts with. So they could either get paid fully or they could take a buyout and come work for Vince if he wanted you. So some of the guys who had big giant contracts were like, "Fuck you! I'm making $2 million. I'm making $1.5 million a year. You think I'm leaving? Right. Eat my shit." So
Goldberg, I was going to play football, and that didn't work. So this is what I've got.
I got this. So Sting and Lex Luger both said, "Fuck you! I got too much time and money left on my deal." Because some of the guys had like 3 years left on their deal with a shitload of money on it. So they were like, "I'm not giving that up. Why would you? I'm collecting my money." So Bagwell, though, he's 31. He's in the prime of his career, and he's thinking, I got to keep my name hot. Get out there. So he actually takes the buyout and tries to go to WWF at this point. So anyway, it wasn't good. It never was good. Nobody liked him there. And a lot of it was his attitude. They really expect you to be a humble, like behind the stage, behind the scenes. They don't want any more Shawn Michaels over there. So they need you to be, I don't know, in terms of talent, in terms of behind the scenes disruption. So they want everybody to kind of be not an egotistical maniac at this moment
be
in time.
Tom Brady. Go along.
kind of, or somebody who's not an asshole. So he, someone who's not a fucking ridiculous cheater. So he he ends up in a training session for new WCW recruits because the rings are different. WWF has a bigger ring than WCW, and the ropes are different. WWF uses actual ropes, and WCW use metal cables with the rubber on them. So a lot different bounce, a lot of different. It's just way different. You need
the ropes in WWF then are like elastic ropes.
They're real ropes. They're fucking ropes.
Like not like actual
like a fucking rope that you would climb in gym class. They get ropes, put them up, and put tape around them. That's how it works. They put tape around the whole thing, and that's your ropes.
So there's no fling to them at all.
Well, yeah, they're stretched out. That's why they bounce like that. They're ropes, so
but it's not like elastic rope.
No, it's a fucking rope. They use real ropes, which a lot of the guys prefer. Whereas they use metal cables in WCW with rubber tubing on it. So it's a much different, it's a different bounce. And the ring size is different. Your timing's off. If you normally go into the ring and, you bounce off the ropes and take 2 steps and do that, now it's 2.5 steps or maybe 3 steps.
They make them look like they're fucking rubber bands, James.
They do. You watch back in the day, guys like Yokozuna going off the ropes, and those fucking ropes go way back, and you're like, whoa, those are going to snap.
Yeah.
Is that's happened. Ropes have snapped in training before a lot. I mean, whereas the cables don't snap. They're metal cables. Are meant to withstand, 20,000 pounds or something.
They're elevator cables, is that right?
Something. They say that, elephants could go on these cables. Okay. So apparently during this class, Bagwell was fucking with somebody and making fun of them really bad. And it's Shane Hurricane Helms, who is a little guy and, a little flyer guy. And he was telling him that he would never amount to anything because he doesn't have any muscle mass or definition. Like, oh, look at you, pal. You're all...
What are you, my calves?
Your calves are weak. Your whole body's like my calves. That's what it is. It's disgusting. So he's literally telling him he doesn't have enough muscle mass. He's like Mac on Always Sunny.
Yeah.
He's like, you just need more mass is the thing. That's my main issue with you. Apparently, he ended up getting in a fight. This escalated to a fight where Bagwell slapped him, because Shane Helms is like 135 fucking pounds. He's this little tiny guy, and Bagwell's jacked, full of steroids, 240 pounds. So he slapped the guy, and apparently Helms threw a frozen bottle of water into the back of his head.
Oh, Jesus.
Causing a cut to open up, and Buff needing 20 stitches from that.
20 stitches?
20 stitches.
That makes sense. That's fucking ice, man.
Oh, it's ice, yeah. And they took Helms' side on the whole thing. They're like, this guy comes in from the outside, he's picking on some guy and then slapping him. What the fuck? Yeah, he got what he deserved. So apparently there was a match on Monday Night Raw where he ends up, this is his first match on TV with WWF, and it's against Booker T, who is another WCW guy.
Awesome wrestler.
He's amazing. He's great. He stuck around forever in WCW or in WWF. So that tells you how, he's amazing. So anyway, during the show, he's going to do a promo, Bagwell, and he is told not, by all fucking means and under any circumstances, do not wear that dumb shit top hat that you fucking wear.
Yeah.
Don't wear that. It's
Burn
stupid.
It. Yeah.
Burn it. You're an idiot. He said, okay, and then wore it anyway on live television. So there's no way to go back and cut it out or anything. So anyway, they it's pretty fucking ridiculous. Do not wear that. No, I'll wear it. That's fine. Why not here?
I got
so
this.
Anyway, he ends up getting his release a few days later. They shit can him. So he takes a buyout, comes in for a week, and then they fire him.
Disobeys, and they're like, that's it, bud.
Yeah. Well, it was also the following night, there was a dark match, and he complained about, it was against JBL, and he complained that JBL power bombed him too stiff. This guy was a little bit stiff. So they told him, because he was complaining, why don't you take the weekend off and come back on Monday? How about that, if you're so hurt? Because he said, I'm hurt, man. That was a stiff power bomb. They're like, great, then take the weekend off. The next Raw is in Atlanta, where they know him.
That's where he's home, yeah.
Get a big pop there. So he says that there's a discrepancy of who said he needed time off. He said that he asked for time off, and WWF says that his mom, Judy, called and asked for time off for him.
It's a big difference.
Now, I didn't mention, one of his WCW storylines was his mother was always with him, Judy Bagwell.
Yeah.
She's always with him. It's my little Marcus. It's this whole thing. At one point, she becomes co-tag team champions, Judy Bagwell. Yeah, I'm not kidding.
That is stupid.
He's very oddly close to his mom, and it's even weirder because in 2001 he marries a woman named Judy, who becomes other Judy Bagwell.
Can't do that.
He's married and divorced twice from 91 to 2001, by the way. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in there he gets quick married and quick divorced here a few times. So Buff says, quote, they said, why'd you get fired from WWE? And he says, quote, I still don't know, but I can tell you the whole story of how I got fired. I walked into a room with Vince, Jim Ross, and Johnny Ace, and it took me 5 minutes to realize I was getting fired. That's actually a long time to realize, realize.
Yeah.
I think you get that pretty quick.
Sat there for 5 minutes like this is a happy meeting, and then you're like, oh, I think I'm being fired.
What he did, very childlike, he said, quote, I raised my hand and I said, are you all firing me?
Excuse me.
Raised my hand.
Yeah.
He said, and Vince said, no, Mark, we're not firing you. We're releasing you.
Yeah, we're giving you opportunities.
Like a fish that you catch and you want it to get stronger in the river, so you release it. That's what we're doing. We're releasing you back into the stream, Marcus. We want you to be strong.
Yeah.
He said, so I asked what the difference was, and of course they had an answer for that too. He goes, well, if we release you, then we don't have to redo your contract when we bring you back in 3 months. If we fire you, we'd have to redo your contract.
Okay.
Because WWE brings people in and out all the time. So there's a big difference there between released and fired. So that's how that goes.
They're telling him that because
you'll probably be back in 3 months. If we were firing you, that would be bad. But this is just, you're not on the.
We don't need you.
Yeah, we don't need you right now, basically. We got a full house. And they had so many wrestlers and then all these WCW guys to choose from. I mean, the roster was the greatest roster in the history of wrestling. They had everybody from the last 20 years that was any good.
Right.
So he said, so I told myself that I had to start shaking hands and smiling because it was over. So that's what I did. You got to go up and go, oh, well, great. Thanks for the opportunity. Can't wait to hear from you next time. And so he said,
soon.
Yep. He said, trying not to cry, I grabbed my bags. So later on, though, he's a guest on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast, and he said, quote, I'm 100% convinced, right or wrong, that Jim Ross ruined my career. There are only 3 witnesses, Jim, God, and me. Hates Jim Ross. He said, I believe with all my heart, Jim Ross really, really, really took his time out to bury me. I don't know where the hatred came from. He loved football players and athletes, and we talked every week when he was at WCW. I think that Vince was done with WCW way before we knew, and he made us go out and do the match in Tacoma, Washington. This is the Booker T match. Mm-hmm. When he could have waited a week and done it in Atlanta. I mean, if you own the company and you call it The Invasion and the other owner lives in Atlanta, you can do it 5,000 miles away, or you can wait 7 days and do it in their backyard, which makes sense. But he wanted to see if Buff was even up to doing that. That was the whole point. So he said, but instead, we do it where WCW's never been. Me and Booker get booed out of the building. We knew it was going on, but you didn't go to Vince and say, you're not doing this, of course. You're a main event on Monday Night Raw. I mean, you just don't ask those questions. I don't think it was as bad as people say it was, talking about the match. But it wasn't just an average match or even below average. It was a shit match. It was a piece of shit match. Yeah. And Booker T is he's a fucking great wrestler. So to have a shit match with him, you have to try, it seems like, because he's pretty goddamn good. So he says, you don't fire a Buff Bagwell for a below-average match. You don't fire a Buff Bagwell. I mean, after 11 years of World Tag Team Championships and doing everything right and being in shape, you give him a warning. You give him a smack on the hand. You don't fire him.
Right.
So that's what he thinks there. Jim Ross has a different opinion on the whole matter. He says, quote, Buff had a higher opinion of his work than Vince did. That's pretty simple. I've become the bad guy because I'm the middleman. I'm the guy that delivers the bad news or the good news at times. I don't hold any animosity to this day on Mark Bagwell whatsoever. I saw where he had a car wreck, and it was involving, I think, drinking maybe, something here in the last few months. That's a foreshadow. He just wasn't a good fit. That partying lifestyle, we're trying to distance ourselves a little bit if we could. Vince just didn't see the money in Mark that Mark saw in himself. He said, I can only deal with the hand that's dealt me. I'm told this kid is not going to get it. I want you to let him go. And he said when we were in Atlanta, we went into a little room, and I remember it vividly. I didn't enjoy doing it. How the hell can you be a human being and enjoy telling another human being that they're done? I'm not that person. I felt for him, and I felt bad for him. It didn't have a lot to do with Judy Bagwell, but that's good dirt. Damn, that's really good dirt. Judy had a little to do with that. Mark's own personal habits and the way he conducted himself was fucked up. Let the air out of his sails. But if he had a better attitude than that at a young age, at some point, we're talking over 20 years, he would have had a shot to get playing time. He wasn't given that opportunity. It seemed like partying was a little more important to him than becoming professional. So that's fine. I mean,
is that real?
That's what he said. That was Jim Ross on the whole thing. He's like, it wasn't an animosity. Just Vince said, I don't need him, get rid of him. And that was Jim Ross's job to fire him. Okay. It's like, I didn't fucking care about the guy either way. I don't give a shit. He said, I had no agenda, no reason, nothing against him. He says, was I the guy that gave him his notice? Yes. Was I the person who made the decision to let him go? No. He's like, not my decision. So, that was that. He said, I managed 100 people. I don't have time for this shit. I don't know anything about it. That makes sense, though. I mean, obviously. Right. So Buff said he waited 3 months.
Okay.
Sat there for 3 months patiently, and then he's like, okay, I'll give him a call. They said, when we bring you back in 3 months. So he said, I waited 3 months, almost 4 months, just to show I wasn't bothering them. Let it ring twice. You know what I'm saying? He said, I called up Jim Ross, and he goes, I swear to God, he went, what do you want, Mark? I went from Buff Bagwell to what do you want, Mark? I said, Jim, let me totally clear the air here. You guys asked me to call you back in 3 months. I waited 3 months and 3 weeks, almost 4 months, and I did what you all told me to do. I was scared I'd get heat for that, but I said I did what you asked me to do. And then he said, quote, we have no openings. We'll call you if we do. Click. That was it.
Ouch.
Later, fucker. And he never got called back ever again.
Ever again?
Nope. They never called him back again. So
that's how his wrestling career died.
In WWE, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that was it. Big time wrestling was over for him pretty much. So things are going terribly for him, obviously.
Awful. Yeah.
He's gone from top of the world to eating a big giant dick in a fucking matter of 3 months. So what do you do when things are going terribly, Jimmy?
I got to have a kid.
You got to get married is what you need to do, and he sure as hell does. He gets married to a woman who has the same name as his mother.
Okay.
That's his third wife, Judy.
Jesus.
That year, he's also voted by the Wrestling Observer, which is like, that's the dirt sheet one. That's kind of all the behind the scenes. It's not the bullshit. It's all the real, like, they're like the hardcore fan type of shit. So the Wrestling Observer voted him, quote, most embarrassing wrestler that year.
No.
So that's not good.
No, you don't want to be most embarrassing anything.
Yeah, it's fucking bad. He said at this point, depression set in, and his pill addiction spiraled out of control here. Because now he's got nowhere to go. He's got no structure at this point. So just do pills. He said his daily
embarrassing.
This is embarrassing. He said his daily intake of pills went all the way up to 20 Lortabs and 40 Somas a day.
That's a lot.
You know how many if you took that, you would die. If you took that right now, you would fucking die. If you took 20 Lortabs and 40 Somas, you'd probably die. Your fucking heart would probably go to sleep.
Maybe, yeah.
Because he has a huge tolerance for it. So, I mean, he had to build up to 40 Somas. You can't just pop 40 Somas. So
I knew a kid that took 8, and I didn't see him for a week. He said he slept for 2 days. But
this dude's doing 40 a day.
Jesus.
I've heard of guys doing 150 a day.
That's a muscle relaxer, man. That's you can't move.
I think it was Raven was up to doing 150 a day at one point, which is nuts.
150 pills a day.
I'm pretty sure. Yep, the Somas are the wrestler's favorite because they get drug tested for I've heard multiple wrestlers back and do shoot interviews going, yeah, I mean, I was a big weed smoker, but they test you for weed, so you couldn't do that, so I just do pills. It's like, stop. No, let them smoke weed. What are you doing? Literally, they're like, I mean, you need something to go to sleep at the end of the night, and your knees are sore and shit like that. I just started taking pills because they don't test you for that. They give you those. He's like, but weed you're not allowed to do. Whoa. That's
a painkiller, right? I
believe so, yes. Yeah. He said his income plummeted, obviously, because he went from being on television. He's had to sell his house and his cars and move into a smaller house at that point. Had to downsize. he says that, quote, wrestling was an invisible leash for all these dead wrestlers. He said, everybody like that. He said, when there's no more leash, there's no one to say yes or no as to when you should stop taking pills. You just go deeper and deeper until you start ODing. Because no matter what, they'd have to be ready to go at showtime and be able to be on. They couldn't be like half out of it on pills at showtime or they get fired. So that kept them. If you did pills at night, then you had to get up, work out, eat, do your show, do pills later. It's like a cycle. Whereas then it just becomes
roller coaster.
Yeah, then it becomes you just wake up and do pills if you don't have anything to do it for. He said he tried to be a functional addict. He was wrestling on the independent circuit, and he said at that point he was still making about $150,000 a year on the indie circuit because he's very very well known name. He's a big name. So I mean, indie wrestling, he got paid decent money at the time.
Yeah, but when you're taking 40 lore tabs that's not easy to. That's $150,000 in pills that you're taking every year.
Absolutely, you know it. I mean, holy shit! And his wife is pissed off. She just married this guy, and he's like, now he's gotten fired, and he's hooked on pills really, really bad. She said, quote, it's been tough, but marriage is tough anyway. Everyone has some fault. I have faith in my parents raised me to take care of the ones you love, which she needs, because she said sometimes he would fall asleep with food in his mouth and I had to wipe it out so he wouldn't choke. Then I'd walk him up to bed and change his clothes. That's how fucking fucked up he was.
Wow.
That is crazy, man. So April 2002, he ends up in TNA wrestling for a little bit.
Really?
I think this might have been just when it was still just pay-per-views, I think, at this point. I'm not even sure, like those weekly pay-per-views.
That's unbelievable to me, to do just a pay-per-view wrestling show that, don't you have to, you know what I mean? Like, that's an opposite. You build the audience and get them to buy it. You don't, put it out there for purchase. And what if nobody, what?
This was, the weekly show was on television. The weekly show was on pay-per-view. So you'd have to pay for the weekly show, which is...
That's like releasing a podcast
crazy.
Straight to Patreon and never building an audience. That's
never having
insane.
anyone outside of it to buy the Patreon. It's very weird. But the way they did it made sense because wrestling fans were so like, fuck, there's only one wrestling now. They went from Nitro and fucking, Raw together to just Raw, just that thing. And then TNA hired a bunch of the old WCW guys. They had Sting right away. Yeah. They had guys like that. So anyone who was craving that was like, oh, well, I just want to see it. So they would actually do it. But
you've got to find that to know that it's there.
Yeah. They just advertise it a little. Wrestling fans will find that shit too. Wrestling fans, they're looking for that stuff, and they're like, "Oh shit, there's a new show with Sting and all that," and they'll talk.
I found more wrestling over here.
Yeah, absolutely. They're really good with word of mouth. Even like Ring of Honor became very popular just from word of mouth, essentially. So so he ends up on there. He says that he doesn't want to be Buff anymore on TNA. He wants to be Marcus Bagwell again, and then he just disappears and. He's gone for a whole summer in 2002, and then he's back at the end of the summer, and just nothing really going on here for him, essentially. He's got not a lot happening. He returns and loses a match, and that's about it. He does team up with Lex Luger again. I'm sorry, he wrestles against Lex Luger. It's Luger and Sting are teaming up. Luger and Sting versus Jeff Jarrett and Buff Bagwell. So, I mean, they were putting on... Yeah, they're putting on a match like that where you'd go, nah. I mean, what was the pay-per-views? Were like $9.99 or something.
Yeah, and I'm in my mind, I see it at like $99. You know what I mean? $100 for because I'm watching fucking Tyson fights. I'm not watching.
Yeah,
it makes sense. That's not so bad.
I think the way they were looking at it is like there's one WWE pay-per-view a month, and that's $40. So why can't we just put 4 on for a total of $40, and that'll be like a competing thing, but. Yeah, it didn't really work out. They needed TV, like you were saying, and they eventually, like you said, got on TV, and it still never worked out very well. It's still a piece of shit, and AEW has overtaken them by far immediately. On their first night, they were the number 2 already. Like, it was not even that's how bad TNA was. So, he apparently, June of 2003, he tries to get a hold of WWE again, asked for a job again, and they told him no, thank you. So now he starts wrestling. This is like a snapshot of 2003, 2004. I won't even tell you who he's wrestling, just where he's wrestling. World Pro Wrestling in Florida. Yeah. Cleveland All Pro Wrestling.
In Florida.
In Florida, Cleveland, Florida. BWCW, MXPW, which I actually remember that one, CIW, I don't know what the fuck that is, AWE, Cleveland All-Pro, Blue Water Championship Wrestling. That's got to be in Florida. This is where he's in a brass knuckles street fight with somebody that night.
Did you say brass knuckles?
A brass knuckles street fight with Jermel Quinn.
Illegal.
It seems
you can't
like a
do
lot.
that.
No, they used to have like taped fist matches. That's one thing. You could fake that, but you can't have people clinking each other with brass knuckles.
Fuck.
So these are all the things. A Premier Championship Wrestling. He got beat by Hacksaw Jim Duggan at Buffalo Brawl in July of 2004.
Fuck.
This is bad, man. Southern Wrestling Alliance. He loses to Lex Luger there. It's going very bad, and it's only going to get worse because in 2004 he also gets arrested for DUI. He's got a lot of. He'll have a total of, I believe, 6 DUIs.
Are they drunk actual DUIs or are they pills DUI?
He's under the influence of Lortab and Somas at this point.
You can't.
And a
that.
lot of them. A lot of them.
The bottle tells you that.
Oh, absolutely. From this incident, he's going to be sentenced to a 20-month Cherokee County drug program because he's got a problem.
Yeah.
He's got an issue. He says, though, in 2006, he had his heart shocked, and that helped him because he said he had an atrial fibrillation, which is an irregular heartbeat.
Yeah,
and,
his Soma addiction is making his fucking heart go to sleep.
He said that the irregular heartbeat prevented him from kicking the pills for some reason. I don't know how that works. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I don't have. I'm not confirming nor denying that that's a thing. I have no idea. So he says that a doctor shocked his heart back into rhythm in 2006, and he was better. But this is when he started realizing that he had a problem. He said he would get enormous chest pain if he tried to get off the pills. And then him and his doctor discovered an opiate called Suboxone that helped him to wean off the Lortab and the Soma.
Suboxone's terrific.
Suboxone, yeah. He said it saved my life overnight. And he said he did a Real Sports segment, which aired that year, where he says he was still taking some painkillers and muscle relaxers, but he says he later on he had stopped those pills, so he's doing fine. July 2005, from a Florida newspaper. It's just like in the sports section, the odds and ends.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote a question in, where is Marcus Buff Bagwell wrestling? This is from George Duffy in Hollywood.
You can't wait to see him.
He needed to know so much that he wrote a letter to the paper.
Right. Old George Duffy can't find it anywhere. What
fucking
year is
2005. Google it. You could find
Google exists.
Wow. The answer, quote, a mid-card performer in WCW throughout the 1990s, Bagwell is working for independent promoters while trying to get his personal life in order. In an interview with whatever the fuck website, Bagwell said he is in rehabilitation for an addiction to painkillers as part of a sentence he received following a 4th arrest for DUI in Georgia.
Whoa.
That one there was his 4th. That was his 4th that year.
God.
So, and then he'll have another at least 3 that I know of coming up. So it's a lot here. There's also some Lex Luger incidents here. Lex Luger gets a DUI in 2005.
Yeah.
And Bagwell said he tried to stop him from drinking that night.
Really?
Yeah. He said, quote, I really tried to help Luger. I said, don't leave. Please stay here. Judy will get us something to eat. Don't worry about that. I said, don't do it. And he just refused. When he got in the car and he smelled those hash browns, he took a couple bites of hash browns, and there it was. Nodded out and went out. Apparently Luger fell asleep and got arrested for it. So those McDonald's hash browns are glorious. So
is that what it was? They were McDonald's?
That's what I pictured in my
Waffle
mind.
House.
Those fuck that. Ugh, it's down south Waffle House bullshit.
Smothered and covered, forget it. I'll pass out too.
This is disgusting.
They will make you
will
so
because
sleepy.
Your fucking blood flow to your heart slows down. Place is disgusting. I'm not a Waffle House fan. They have a couple things that are tasty. Don't get me wrong. It's
oh Christ,
hash browns.
Hash browns are amazing. They're so good, especially if they're done right, where they've got a crisp on either side and
crispy.
They're gooey in the middle. And then
always extra crispy.
Oh, fuck yes.
But yeah, definitely. So December of 2005. Scott Steiner, I think it's Scott Steiner, Buff Bagwell, and Lex Luger are removed from a flight to Winnipeg following a disturbance they caused on the plane.
Oh, they were those guys.
You're not famous enough to cause disturbances on the plane anymore, guys. Sorry. All three were detained for several hours. Bagwell and Steiner were eventually released, but Luger is held without bail because he had some drug charges that were pending against him that he
He's the
hadn't done much for. Yeah, he's got some issues. Now, 2005, little snapshot here. He's in Great Lake Wrestling, fucking MCW Global Championship Wrestling, which is not the same one from 1991.
No.
World Pro Wrestling, all these shitty indies. April 2006, he appears on a show that looks like it only airs in Canada because it's from a Canadian newspaper. I found it, called Vanity Insanity.
Oh, boy.
And it's a show, it's on Channel 8 here, and it's Marcus Buff Bagwell, a professional wrestler whose calf implants exploded. That's their subject that week.
Oh, so they're talking about like botched or shit that just went bad.
Shit you did for vanity that didn't work out for you, basically.
Didn't take.
You thought you were real pretty, didn't you? Now what, eh? Not so good looking now, are you, eh?
Yeah.
2006, he gets another DUI. At this point,
no.
This is more pills, by the way. So he hasn't kicked shit essentially, and he won't for a long time, as we'll find out.
It's a problem.
Now, there's another issue here. Chris Benoit, around this time, is the obvious Chris Benoit murdering his wife and son, and apparently, they share a doctor. Chris Benoit and Marcus Bagwell.
Yeah.
They share Dr. Phil Aston, who was indicted for over prescribing anabolic steroids after Benoit's death, and they investigated the guy.
His name is Phil?
His name is Dr. Phil Aston, like Sean Aston.
Phil will fill it.
Yeah, Phil's gonna fill you up, motherfucker. Don't worry about that.
Goddamn, is he an actual like family doctor, or is he the pharmacist? Yeah, okay.
No, he's a real doctor. He can prescribe shit. That's what he does.
He's filling.
There's everybody, all these wrestlers have doctors, tons of different doctors that they get prescriptions from and stuff. So this guy was their guy. Bagwell says, quote, if Chris Benoit was alive today, he would say, man, I can't believe Bagwell outlived me because I was going to be one of the first ones that went down. Well, he didn't. He had to hang himself. Did you excite? Man, I can't believe Bagwell didn't murder his wife and hang himself in his own basement. I figured he'd do it well before I did. You fucking talking about?
I can't believe I outlived him. It's choice, man. He didn't just fucking die.
Yeah, he's Jesus. He can just drop dead in a hotel room.
God.
But he claims that now, in the 2007 here, he has kicked his painkiller addiction. He is, what is it, Jimmy?
Yeah, he's good now.
He's good now.
Super good.
Good now. He even met with the Georgia Athletic and Entertainment Commission to help them to discuss drug testing and other regulations for professional wrestlers and promoters. It's pretty interesting. This meeting took place. Chris Benoit's father has been pushing this all through to try to get these guys have some control over what the fuck they're putting in their bodies. Because Michael Benoit, the father, he faults the WWE for failing to provide proper drug screens and treatment for head injuries that his son sustained in the ring, which I agree with.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bagwell, he said that during this time here, I found he was at a Georgia wrestling promotion show at a Hot Wheels skate center in Woodstock. A fucking roller skating rink.
Roller skates. Jesus.
He said, I went from 75,000 people at the Georgia Dome to 200 people seeing me at a skating rink. That's a pretty rough ride. That's his quote.
And I'll bet that 200 is a generous estimate.
That's what I mean. That's like, there was 200 at some point in the show, but not all at once ever. So, little snapshot of 2007-8. He's in XICW, UCW, Georgia Wrestling Promotions, SECW, MACW, WFX, SECW. Are you catching just random bullshit?
It's a hodgepodge of letters. There's just a W in these a lot.
There's always a W and something for extreme at that point for a while, too. So there's an X and a W, and the C is probably championship, I assume. Right. Who knows?
Community.
So, March 16th, 2008, the XICW. He wins the XICW Midwest Heavyweight Championship.
Oh, my.
And also beats Greg the Hammer Valentine to retain the title, who is probably 60 years old at this point. Wow. March 2008, a wrestler named Chase Tatum dies. And he was in one of the guys in when Master P was on WCW. Remember that?
Yeah.
He was one of the on their squad there of the No Limit Soldiers that Master P had there.
As soon as that shit started happening, man, it's like you are relegating your rap to like ICP level shit. Stop this right now.
It's silly.
You're
but you know what they were paying him? You know what they were paying Master P?
$1 million a year.
$250,000 per week that he was on there.
Okay.
He'd make $1 million a month.
For
4 of those, $1 million.
I'd sink my career for that for a year too.
$250,000 to come out for 15 fucking minutes.
Fuck yeah,
I'll
be there.
I'll be there every fucking time.
Laugh at me, I dare you.
I don't give a shit. Yeah,
I'll buy you.
That's what I'm saying. I'll show you what they're paying me, and then who's going to be laughing now?
Shit.
So Bagwell says, because this guy died of an OD, I think, and Bagwell says, quote, every wrestler has their own stash of pills, and everybody partied all night and all day. I partied with him. I was part of it. He says that he wishes Congress would intervene as it did with steroids in Major League Baseball. He said, why don't they intervene here? He said, it'll kill wrestling, but wrestling is killing people anyways. It would be a shame if Chase just ends up being another number. He described this guy as a God-fearing guy. He'd have a beer, but would have to have his Bible with him. He had a super heart, just a great kid. And then he said he was in Who's Your Caddy, by the way, that guy.
Really?
He was in Who's Your Caddy, and he was working as a road manager and like a personal assistant for Big Boy after that, too.
Really?
Yeah.
From Outcast?
Yeah, and then he died. So
that's wild.
Yeah.
Who's Your Caddy? Who was in that? Was Master P in that?
I don't know. It looked really embarrassing. I just remember that.
It's not good.
It looked like one of those where you're like, oh, God, no, that's not good. So 2009, Buff headlined some indie crap, OCW here, and it's in Ohio. And he said, Ohio's a big wrestling state. We've all done well there. Great. And he says this is so stupid. He's doing like, they're asking him about his opponent. He's like, I mean, he's good, but he's not as experienced as me. And he's like doing like non-shoot shit. He said, I used to wrestle in front of 100,000 people and not meet one person. Now I wrestle in front of 500 people and meet everybody. It's much better for the fans. Most want that interaction. They want to touch you. They want to say hello. Yeah, but not when you're washed up. They wanted to do that when you were 28 and actually impressive that they were looking at here. So he said, I've had to judge different styles to make the team work. He's talking about some other teams he was on. He said he likes being in a tag team because you can come in, do a bunch of shit, and then get out and rest and come back, and everybody's always fresh, he said. So that's fun, which that makes sense, actually.
Yeah, fresh legs makes the show better.
Tickets for this are $10 in advance and $12 at the door. Okay. So there's that. Nobody else of any note seems to be on the show. No. Okay, there you go. Moving on. 2010 to 2012 here. He's in NWA restarted itself, but it wasn't really anything. So he's wrestling in that. He's wrestling in UCW. He, I guess the reconstituted non-WWE version of ECW that was around for a minute. He beats, Raven beats him there. So then on April 23rd, 2012, he is in Woodstock, Georgia, driving.
Yeah.
He calls his wife on the phone at 1:35 p.m. to tell her that he was about to have a seizure while he was driving. Said, I feel a seizure coming on. Okay.
Why are you calling? Pull that shit over.
That's what I'm saying. Picking up the phone and calling, just immediately pull over. Even if you're on the highway, pull the fuck over and put your hazards on.
Right.
Yeah. Instead, she calls 911 and she says that he's been cutting back on certain medications. And he's on a medication right now for bacteria that's in his system from another antibiotic. And she said he's trying to cut back on pain pills, but that might be what's causing the seizure. You think?
Yeah.
He said that Buff's wife said he had a seizure before under the same circumstances. Well, he ended up keeping driving. And he ended up flipping his car several times.
That's what
he's driving a Jeep, and he flips it several times on the Town Lake Parkway. And suffered several broken bones. His neck is messed up. His face is fucked up. He's got a broken jaw. He's a fucking disaster. One car accident. A witness said that he had a lot of blood on his face and appeared almost unconscious.
That's what happens when you wreck a Jeep.
Yeah, when you roll it over multiple times, his head probably bounced off the fucking roof. How many times?
If it's a convertible top Jeep, what year is this? 2009?
Yeah, I don't know what kind of car
He
it
could
could be.
have bounced his head off the fucking ground.
Yeah, and it might be a Jeep Cherokee too. We have no
Good
fucking
point.
idea
Yeah.
of
Could
what
be a
kind of
Jeep
thing
Compass.
it is.
We don't know.
We don't know. Jeep Liberty. We have no idea what's happening.
Some piece of shit.
He was taken to the intensive care unit after all this shit here. And a couple days later, though, Scott Norton, his vicious and delicious partner, released a statement saying he's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. He did still require breathing and feeding tubes, and he's going to go he has to undergo surgery once the swelling in his face and neck subsides, but they think he's going to be okay. This is a bad accident.
Yeah.
She said that he'd been taken off the breathing tube a few days later. His mom said that he'd been taken off. He's able to eat solid foods and able to talk again. And it's pretty fucking wild here. He said that he's able to walk again a week later on May 3rd, but he still has a tingling sensation. And he stated that he had 4 plates surgically inserted into his face and that his jaw was wired shut after surgery.
Oh, my God. That's a bad accident.
That's a fucking bad accident here. He's recovering from everything and trying. And, he's also charged with reckless driving because, there is criminal ramifications for he could have killed somebody doing that shit.
He did make a bad choice.
Yeah, he really does. He said that, quote, I don't even tell people this because it's so hard to believe, but I wrecked my car and broke my neck on the exact same day as I broke it 14 years previous. He didn't break his neck. He had a bruised spinal cord.
It's a bruise.
Jesus Christ. That's ridiculous. He said on April 22nd, 1998, Rick Steiner bulldogged me on live television and I broke my neck. It was the worst 2 years of my life. I really had a hard time getting back into shape. I was 42 at this time. This is when he just got in this accident. I'm 44 now, and I think with age, along with the trauma I went through, it was the hardest thing ever. But I finally got back, and I'm back to being buff. Honest to God, I've only been back to being 100% for the last 6 months. It took a year and a half to get over it, but I'm back to 110%. You fucking idiot.
It's impossible. But here's the thing. A guy that goes through that kind of trauma, he used pain medication to get through that.
I don't know. Yeah, that's the worst thing for him.
This is going to be bad.
Well, 2013, when he's back to being 100%, he's arrested and charged 110%. He's arrested and charged with DUI.
Yeah, of course.
Again, for weaving all around the road and driving half the speed limit. So
probably on pills.
Allegedly assuming he's on pills.
Yeah.
2014, here it is, Jimmy. This is what I've been waiting for the whole episode. I love when we get something that's going to be talked about for the remainder of however long Crime and Sports goes on for. In 2014, he participates in a reality television show called Gigolos.
Yes. What in the fuck?
It follows the lives of 5 male escorts in Las Vegas.
He's a male escort in Vegas, or is he producing this?
No. He's not producing shit. He's not producing anything. Cameras also follow them on their appointments with women, including all this shit. It's on Showtime in 2011. It was on for 6 seasons, Jimmy. Wow. They made 54 episodes of this fucking garbage. That's how long it was on.
Is he in all of it?
No. He's only on it for a minute here. But he actually does do Gigolos. Gigolos was met with critical confusion regarding the legality of the activities it portrays and amazement that women would consent to being filmed purchasing sexual services.
Purchasing a 44-year-old pill addict.
He looks like he's on the episode 6 of season 5. It's called Buff Bagwell. And it says, wrestler Buff Bagwell wants to try his hand at being a gigolo, and Ash gets into a client's fantasy. So that's what happened on that episode.
Just start an OnlyFans, Buff. Stop this.
So this is pre-OnlyFans. They said, well, guess it gets worse, Jimmy. I have a price list for him. It's wild, Jimmy. It's wild.
Yeah.
So they said, do you actually have sex with these women on Showtime? And he said, no, absolutely not. We're not having sex on camera. That's not what we're doing. Sure, it might look like it, but it's like in a movie. Tom Cruise looks like he dies when the building explodes, but he didn't actually die. You got to believe me on this. I actually say, you got to believe me on this. I'm not fucking these.
Suspend some disbelief for a minute.
He said, if a woman pays for his gigolo services, is he able to say no to having sex? Can you say no? He says, I'm not able to. I actually do say no. Contractually, it's no. They're paying for my companionship. They're not looking for just sex.
Okay.
They're looking for a companion that will tell them they're pretty and hang out and be friends for a day or 2 days.
No.
And also get a dick down like you've never believed. How does his wife feel about him being a gigolo?
I'd love to know.
That's a good question. He says, quote, "My wife trusts me with this. She totally buys in and understands that we have a great marriage and this is just a decision we made to make money, and Showtime loved the idea of bringing a wrestler in." My God. Would he be okay if his wife wanted to work as an escort is the next question. He said, no, and that's probably not fair. I think that in life there's a double standard with this. There's the old saying that if a guy does it, we say big deal, but if a girl does it, then we say she's a slut. And that goes back for centuries. So he doesn't say that's wrong. He just goes, that's the way it is. Sorry.
No, if she did it, she's a slut.
Yeah, you know how it is. That goes back for centuries, so it must be true. Anyway, moving on.
So moving on.
Yeah. You said, I'm not a jealous. Hey, I got it. I'm on this.
I got it licked.
How many 65-year-old ladies want a fucking rim job? What do we got going on here? Because I'll do it. Where do you see the price list? He better fucking be doing that.
Oh, boy.
He said, I'm not a jealous guy. I just think that in the world in general, her having a husband that's a gigolo is kind of cool. But me having a wife that's an escort would be like, are you kidding me? I think the are you kidding me goes both ways there pretty fucking equally.
Sure in the fuck does.
That's not pandering to women or anything. That's just hilarious. It's not. No women's friends is like, your husband's an escort? That's pretty cool. Never happened. That's pretty cool, man. No, that's never been said, stupid. Wow, he is that delusional, this fucking guy.
How long do you have to wait between going down on a woman, dude, before you kiss your wife? Like, how long?
Out of his phone. Where's the pony? He's looking around. This is crazy. So, here's his actual gigolo profile.
Okay.
First of all, it's the website is old.cowboysforangels.com.
Gross.
Cowboysforangels.com. Cowboys.
Old dot.
Old dot.
Uh-huh.
Okay. How our encounters work. Looking for the perfect boyfriend experience with no strings attached?
Yeah.
We are a personal... What the fuck would that be? I scratch my balls and play a video game and ask you to get me shit, and then you're like, this is great.
I tell you to get a tomato out of the fridge that's on the bottom shelf and fart in your face? Is that what you want?
Is that where we're going on? All right. I could do that. We're a personalized male escort for women companion service that caters to the most discerning, exclusive women who expect the best. When scheduling an appointment, you will be speaking to the owner, Garen James, who is a true pioneer to this industry with over 10 years of matchmaking services. But you're not matchmaking. They're buying someone off a fucking menu. What are you talking about?
10 years of selling e-pussy.
Booking an appointment with the most elite male escort companions in the world is a simple process and tells you to view, select a male companion that interests you, request an encounter by filling out a form. Now, let's look at Marcus's.
I can't wait to see this.
There's his profile.
Wow.
Look at him go.
He is so orange.
He's very tan in this. He's still got the Caesar going in 2014 or whatever, which is pretty funny. Let's read his
shirt and everything.
Want to hear his pitch?
Sure do.
Marcus Alexander Bagwell grew up outside of Atlanta. After being a star athlete in high school, he decided to take his hard work and effort and fitness and become a personal trainer. Not long after, Marcus also decided to enroll in massage therapy school, where he eventually graduated at the top of his class and holds a degree in massotherapy. While pursuing his passions, he was discovered by a professional wrestler who convinced Marcus to give it a shot. After doing so, he was a natural. His first persona on national TV was the Handsome Stranger, where he brought roses to the ring and handed them out to the ladies in the crowd. Fast forward a year later, and now he's signed at World Championship Wrestling and received Rookie of the Year honors. That skyrocketed his career, and no longer calling himself Marcus Alexander Bagwell, Buff the Stuff Bagwell was born.
Yeah.
Because that's what he was his line. He'd always say, I'm buff and I'm the stuff. That was his thing that he would say, like a fucking idiot. So he said, and the rest is history. Being watched each week by millions of fans all over the world, Buff spent over a decade on national TV entertaining the fans. A true Southern gentleman. Marcus is a true Southern gentleman, Jimmy. Marcus once again is ready to hand out a few roses and entertain you for the evening. But if that's not your cup of tea, he will forever be your Buff the Stuff Bagwell. So he can be a jerk or he can be a kind guy, whatever you're into. Now,
it is fascinating that they conveniently left out, 6 fucking DUIs, punching a stagehand in the neck. He's a gentleman.
He's going to be He will nod off during dinner, and you're going to have to wipe the food from his mouth so he doesn't choke on it. They don't put that in there.
They should have put at the end, you drive.
Yeah, you're driving. No transportation should be the end. Must pay for taxi.
Please provide Uber.
This is his rate. 1 hour rate. It says available at 2 hour rate. He doesn't do 1 hour.
1 hour.
You can get him for 2 hours though. For $800.
What?
$800, Jimmy, for 2 hours.
Wow.
$800. 4 hour rate, $1,550.
Oh, it's a little
you get
deal.
$50 off. Overnight rate. Overnight.
$2,000.
$3,000 overnight. Per day, if you want him for a full 24 hours, because that's just if you come for the evening and he stays overnight, leaves in the morning, so bangs you all night. Instead, per day, a whole day, $4,500 for a day.
Holy shit!
But he does have a weekend rate where you get 2 days, and you get a little discount here, only $8,000 for the whole weekend.
Jesus Christ.
Then, let's say it's like one of those, like a family retreat, and you're telling everybody you've got this handsome fiance and you don't have one for real, and you need him for a whole week. $25,000.
To pretend to be married.
To pretend to be interested in you and probably lick your butthole. $25,000. That is obscene.
Holy. The amount of sex that would occur in that. Being honest,
it'd have to be.
You'd have to get $800 at a time. You know what I mean? You have
It's wild.
How many times does 800 go into 25,000?
A shitload, like 35, maybe. I don't know, 32 times.
At least 30 times, right?
A shitload. Yeah. The owner of the service told TMZ because TMZ found out about this and put it out there. Bagwell is already the second most popular escort on the website.
Who's number one?
This guy, Nick Hawk. I don't know who that. I think he's the guy from that show, though. He's the guy from the Gigolo
Nick
show,
Hawk,
I believe.
Did he play football?
I don't know who he is, but I think he was the guy on the Gigolo show. I think
it.
he was one of the gigolos on that show. I'm not up on my male sex worker. I don't have my male sex worker cards. I don't have my male prostitute cards are laying
around. But they can
anymore.
say the second most popular, and he's been booked 2 times, and the other guy's been booked 3 times. I don't know what the fuck that means. What are the numbers?
Who knows? He said, quote, "I was absolutely a gigolo." That's what he says later on. "Dude, it was actually pretty wild. I was a gigolo for a night. No. I'm on this website still because I signed a piece of paper, of course." He's still on that website, by the way. That's an active profile. Like I said, I was broke, and I signed a piece of paper that allowed him the rights to put me on his website. And it's crazy. $400 an hour, $3,000 for the night, $10,000 for the weekend. And I've done one of those, and that was when me and my wife were broken up. So I got $8,000 to go to Paris, France. Wow, that's fucking wild. I don't even know what to say about this.
What does she look like, though?
That's who knows.
You know what I mean?
Assuming an older lady, probably. If it's like guys, it's an older lady. Just like it's probably an older guy, that sort of thing. I mean, he was talking about being in a hotel room in Paris, like over there. And he was like, "This is amazing. I'm getting paid shitloads of money to take European vacations." Very, very strange. And he said it was even weirder because no one knew he was over there. But somehow, out of nowhere, there's a knock at the door.
Yeah.
He opens it thinking it's room service, and it's not room service. It is the Mexican pimp, guns blazing, pointing right at him. And he says, "How is it you've come to arrive here? You are in this room. You are selling yourself? Why?
Doing it all wrong.
You do it all wrong. First of all, the woman you are with, you sell her to someone. That's what you do. What? Why? Why would you do this? You sell yourself. And if you're going to sell yourself, cowboys for angels. No. You come with me. You are going to be mine. I will sell you the real way. Come on, let's go now." "No, you will come with me. I have 2 guns. Let's go." And then he has to leave. And so, poof, and they both disappear. Marcus... and in a bottle and tequila and all sorts of shit. The Mexican pimp, they're both gone. Marcus is very confused, and the Mexican pimp has himself a new charge.
A new whore.
A new whore. So there you go. June 2014, he's arrested for unknown reasons. I can't find out why. I just know he's got arrested. I found his mugshot, and I can't find why.
Whatever he did was illegal as shit.
Something illegal. It even says on multiple sites, arrested for unknown reasons. We're not sure what exactly he did, but he looks like shit in his mugshot. I do know that. 2015, he has
Down in Mexico selling his man pussy.
Selling his, he's like, I mean, you can do whatever you want to my butthole, I guess, if you're paying $8,000. 2015, he has a shoulder and hip replacement. Yikes, that hurts. That sounds painful.
Fuck, man.
That's all those years
Both
of being slammed.
in 1 year?
Yeah. You get it done all at once. Hip replacement is the most common thing for wrestlers. If you wrestled more than 15 years, like on a nightly hardcore basis, you're either in constant pain or you've had a hip replacement. One of the two.
Rehabbing both of those at the same time.
Oh, that's brutal.
I got a friend that just did a shoulder.
Brutal.
It's horrible, man.
I don't know if he did one and then did the other. I just know over the course of like a year and a half, he had them both.
That's crazy.
Taken. Then in 2016, his wife divorces him at some point.
Enough of this.
Now,
it's not as cool as he thought it was.
No, that doesn't work out. I have a story for everybody here that I have to read for you guys, and it's a well-written story that I need to read because it really gives the sense of hopelessness of what it's like to work with Buff Bagwell during this time period, okay? We've mentioned him before, Sean Oliver. He's a great guy. He does kayfabe commentaries, and he writes books, and even his non-wrestling books he's a fucking good writer. He's a smart guy. Great guy all around. Anyway, I like him as a person, too. He's a good guy. He wrote this great book called Kayfabe, Stories You're Not Supposed to Hear from a Pro Wrestling Production Company Owner, okay?
Yeah.
Because they do all of these shoot interviews with these retired wrestlers. So he's dealing with these guys on pills at 2 in the morning.
Everything off.
Post everything. Yeah. I mean, he sees them either being real nice guys or real pieces of shit, either one. So this book, by the way, buy this book. Even if you don't have to care about wrestling. This is just wild stories of hearing fucking crazy people tell these crazy stories. So if you like our shit about wrestling episodes, buy this book. It's really, really good. So there's an audio version too, and he reads it, which helps because he does, how people talk the right way.
Yeah. It's his writing and his words. That's huge.
It's big. And I'm going to use his Bagwell impersonation from his audio book when I'm Bagwell here. So it starts out, this is the introduction to his book, which like I said, can't recommend enough here. He says, quote, Buff Bagwell just told me he would punch my teeth down my throat when he sees me in New Jersey next month. Uh-oh. That's how he starts his book out, right? So he says, I'm standing on my porch looking down at my iPhone in my hand, the aforementioned caller now having hung up, leaving me speechless. He talks about being in the business for a while and not being surprised much anymore.
Yeah.
It's like I've been dealing with wrestlers for 7 years. I'm not surprised by a fucking lot of things that go on at this point.
I know how they operate.
Yeah, he said, quote, like a dedicated explorer filling his journal for the next National Geographic piece, I've watched from the bushes, learning the howls and squawks. I know what they mean. I can interpret their language. I can read between the lines. I know their behavior.
Yeah.
So, he said, having said that, I was surprised, not because a worker was acting like an asshole. Wrestlers call themselves workers all the time. Yeah. Not because a worker was acting like an asshole, but more so because it was Buff telling me this. 6 months prior to this phone call, Buff, real name Marcus, was to be a guest on our popular show, Timeline, the History of WCW, covering the year 1997. Right. It's a really cool show. They sit down with a wrestler who was in a company for that year, and they go over all the events of one particular year and ask for what they remembered about it. So it's pretty neat, actually. It's a really cool show. And so neat that WWE stole it and do their own version of it now. So Buff is being entrusted to cover an entire year. You have to be very lucid, have a good memory, and be able to recall, oh, yeah, when that happened, this guy said this and that, and oh, it was fucking crazy, and we all thought this. You have to be able to do that.
Right.
Okay, so he said the recall required of a guest for a successful edition of this series is no small order. The series comes alive when a guest can seemingly take us back in time and regale us with the anecdotes and recollections from the road, the arenas, hotel rooms, and TV tapings. So makes a lot of sense, right? It's to discuss everything. It's a shoot interview. He said the key here is that they remember that they recreate this moment for us. They have to remember shit. So he said they're set up for 2 back-to-back shoots in Queens, okay? right outside LaGuardia Airport. They're doing like at the hotel there.
Right.
He said they did one episode of Breaking Kayfabe with Lanny Poffo, who's Randy Savage's brother.
Right.
He said we'd shoot for maybe 2 hours, and when we parted with Lanny, we'd do a full turnaround, meaning they would reset the room for a new set for a different series to do with Buff, and do the Breaking Kayfabe set, its tables, its chairs, its lighting, everything like that, and they were waiting for Buff. So they were waiting for it. We'll be ready to roll about 10 or 10:30 p.m. Buff should walk right in here. It's going to be all great, and get 2 shows in a night and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
As people like us who sometimes try to bang out a couple of things in a night, you know how hard that is. So
it's not easy.
No. He said the plan was to have Buff, and he said that night he was Marcus, meaning not a dick. He said picked up at his hotel down the road, brought to us at our set when we're ready. I'd spoken to him on the phone, texted him a few times since arriving in Queens. Smooth sailing. Everything's going well. He was going to grab a bite, he said, and he'd be ready to roll with us in a few hours when we were done with Lanny's shoot. Cool. Everything's sounding great. He said everything with Lanny Poffo goes wonderfully. It's first time working with him, and he's fantastic. He said, now time for Marcus. He said, except now we can't reach him.
Oh, no.
It's been a couple hours. He's not responding to texts. The phone is going to voicemail. He said, I knew the hotel he was at, so I knew where to send my crew, but I didn't know the room he was in. He said, what I did know was that there was a bunch of wrestlers in town for a convention that weekend. There's only a couple hotels surrounding the airport that were being used for them. So he said most of the time there'd be people coming in and out. It's a Friday night. People are going to be flying in. He said more than likely they'd be eating and congregating in the hotel bar and grills, which makes sense. So he said Marcus mentioned grabbing a bite, so chances are he's in there. Let's try to track him down.
Uh-oh.
He said 2 from our road crew, Brian and Craig, jumped in the car and headed down the road. He said, so they're already in the room. They're just waiting for Marcus. They send the crew out to get him. He said, I'm tinkering with lights. He said, it's tight. It's an ugly room. So, it's kind of a tension, trying to make everything right. And he said, I've been texting and talking with him. He was excited, lucid, polite. This was only 3 hours ago. He was excited for what the fuck happened. Now he's gone. So he says, I'm trading texts with Brian. Is he outside? Brian answers, nope. He said, is there anyone that we know there? And he said, I don't see anyone. I'll go inside. He said they hadn't worked with Marcus, so they didn't know what to expect, or should they be concerned, or they didn't know shit about it. So he says, is this just an inconvenience or a problem? Who knew? He's a very good writer, I'm telling you. It's very funny stuff, even though it's not like a comic writing. It's just the way he puts stuff is very funny, and matter of fact. He said in a stunning reversal of roles, Brian texts me that Jake the Snake Roberts, who we did an episode on, now stone cold sober, is informing them that Bagwell is at the bar and not in good shape.
Uh-oh.
He said Brian explains to Jake that Marcus is late for our shoot, so Jake offers to get involved and to help Marcus get on track and out of the bar. He's like, I'll try to give it a shot. So he's talking about Jake has a troubled past, and obviously Jake has his own bouts of addiction and everything like that. He said, but he did tell him, Brian, get Jake's number, of course, for later because we want to work with him. He says radio silence prevails for a time as him and his partner Anthony are left in the suite, which now feels like a cell. I'm concerned about what's going on, and I'm starting to tinker. Fuck around with the lights and stuff. Though the reports from the hotel down the road are troubling, we know better than to hit the panic button. Professional wrestlers, and this is where, again, this is a comedian thing, because I'm going to tell you a story. Professional wrestlers of yesteryear are performers to the core. We had been in enough situations where, for whatever reason, the talent seemed like they might have a tough time delivering. We've hosted the tired, travel-weary, distrustful, and cocktailed. But when the proverbial red light goes on, they snap into a zone.
Yep.
It's that drastic sometimes, that sudden and obvious. They flip an internal switch and become charming and interesting. That's the name of a comedian's game. Yep. How many have you seen me like, fucking, when I yelled at that guy in Washington, fucking laid into a guy till I was a horse. And then 5 seconds later, we were like, hey, everybody.
Welcome.
And we had a fucking good time. After I just eviscerated a fucking man in front of his entire staff.
Right.
For they robbed us. It's fine. It's their fault. So anyway, but that's what it is. Like comics have that too. I won't say his name, but there was a comic I opened up for who is a very good comic that's been doing comedy for over 30 years.
Right.
Over 30 years. Very experienced. He's done everything under the sun. Yeah. He almost didn't go on stage because he had an anxiety attack and said had his face out of the bathroom going, I can't come out of this bathroom in the green room. And I'm about to introduce him, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't breathe. I can't do this. Oh, my God. I went out, I introduced him. 15 seconds later, he came out and fucking crushed for an hour and 10 minutes like he was the greatest thing in the world. He couldn't breathe 5 seconds before that, and he was crushing immediately. So it's just one of those things. He says that if they flip an internal switch and become charming and interesting, Marcus might be one of those gifted with the performer's gene, so he might be fine, which makes sense. So a phone rang. It was Brian, and he says, quote, "They have Buff," Anthony tells me. They have him. He said, "Give me the phone." I take it from him. "Brian, scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it?" 11, Brian says. God damn it. Shit. So then he says, quote, "Performer's gene. I'm hanging on to the hope that Marcus transforms when the cameras roll. Maybe he shakes off the couple beers and delivers." He's talking about there's a 60-page meticulously researched script ready to go for the show, which more sympathetic I could not be, because this is 66 pages of today that we're doing. And so he's got all of that. He says, "I have crew to pay, slot filled with the show on our release schedule. This has to work." They're booking a room. They have all the shit going on. He said they head out, and Anthony and I head down to the lobby to meet them. The lobby of the LaGuardia Hotel is very big, and the entrance from the parking lot is clear across the lobby from the elevators. As we emerged and headed toward the center of the lobby, the sight emerging from the parking ramp made my knees weak. There was Marcus being carried by both Craig and Brian. They stood on either side of him. Jesus, each of his arms around their necks, with his feet dragging as he fumbled for footing.
Weekend at Bernie's.
That's what he couldn't walk.
Weekend at Bagwell's.
Weekend at Bagwell's. That's amazing. He couldn't walk, stumble, or sway on his own. Buff was still in tremendous shape at the time. The 6 foot, 238-pound chiseled Greek godlike specimen was being dragged by my bearded, heavily tattooed crew. It looked like Spartacus owed money to the Sons of Anarchy. He said when he looked up and saw me coming toward him, he kind of shoved off Craig and Brian, making a pathetic attempt to upright himself. He slurred some greeting, and as we walked to the elevator, I asked him to sit with me on a lobby couch for a second. I gave him the premise of the show, the format, and how he would shoot. Truthfully, I wanted an up-close assessment of just how impaired he would come across. He couldn't walk, but shit, we would be sitting. Could he talk?
That's all that I need him to do.
He said, and I'll do an imitation of Sean imitating him, "That's cool, brother. Us is going to be great." He said, "Nope, couldn't talk."
Yeah.
He said, "Marcus." He said, I started to lean in out of the earshot from the other guys. "Do you want to get some coffee or something first? We have all night, and we can do this." "Nah, brother, I'm cool. Let's go do this." "Okay." He said, quote, his speech and drool failed to reassure me.
And drool.
And drool.
He can't even
It's that
suck
pill
it in.
drool.
Yeah.
He said, what choice did I have? The walk to the elevator and then the room would be a good 3 or 4 minutes. Hey, maybe it would all wear off by then. Who fucking knows?
Ever the optimist.
Who knows? No. He said, I walked ahead of everyone. I didn't want to see my guest being carried, or maybe I wanted him to retain his dignity and not have me see him being carried. I don't know how he made it to the room, but he did. We wired him for sound, turned the lights on and cameras, and I said a vague prayer to no particular deity. Now is the time to find out about that performance gene. I launched into the intro, read the details about the first events to be discussed. January 4th, Scott Hall and Jerry Sagg shoot on each other during a tag team match. I serve up a question about that night in Shreveport, Louisiana, and Marcus returns the most unintelligible, ridiculous attempt at an answer. It very well may have been about the fight in Shreveport. It may have been the recipe for baklava.
I don't know if he said flour and caramel. What did he just say?
No clue. I attempt a second question, and before long it's obvious that this isn't going to work. He's rambling, slurring, drooling, and not paying attention.
Oh, boy.
I'm trying to figure out how to shut this down. There's no way I could charge someone to watch this. This couldn't go on. Makes sense?
Yeah.
He said, I waved off Anthony behind the cameras. I need a minute. I turned to Marcus quietly. Hey, man, this isn't working. You're not in the right shape for this. You probably can't tell, but believe me, you don't want this released. He's trying to be a...
Yeah.
And he said,
bad, man.
This looks bad. Marcus said, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Then he said, just give me 15 minutes to kick out. Now, this is hilarious. I like that he said, quote, the use of pro wrestling terms by wrestlers to describe real world situations is always something to behold.
Yeah.
Despite the insanity of this tense situation, I was heartily amused by the use of kick out. If you don't know wrestling,
don't worry.
When a guy's got somebody pinned and it's 1-2 and then he gets out of it, that's called kicking out. So he's like, I can kick out, man. He said that may only be second to the Iron Sheik referring to the man who murdered his daughter as a jabroni in a documentary. That's true. I've seen that.
Yeah.
He called him a jabroni. Like he's a, wow.
I'll fuck his ass and make him humble.
Oh, my God. So he asked, I'll skip over this, but he said he was asking Anthony, the partner, what do you want to do? He said, we're the co-owners. We have to decide. He said, Ant, we can't put this shit out. If he can't straighten out, we have to shut it down. They go over scheduling options. No way to get it the next day. They're too busy. He's not there. So, it's a fucking mess basically here. He said, we hoped for a miracle and started again. I delivered what must have been a half-hearted intro, read the Nash Sags brawl details, and turned to Marcus, who gave the exact duplicate mess he served up the first time.
A carbon copy, useless shit.
Shit. He said, again, I got about 2 questions in and told Marcus it was still pretty bad.
Yeah.
He didn't think so. He said, that was good.
Run it.
He said, no, it wasn't. Marcus asks for more time. He reassures me that he knows how to kick out of this. I know it's over, but for his benefit, I allow him the 15 minutes. This time, he stands up for the miraculous recovery. This book is just full of stories like this. It's an amazing book. It's so funny. He said, for the miraculous recovery, and walks to the far wall. He leans against it, places his hands by his side, closes his eyes, and leans his head back. I watch what appears to be a mystical trance-like ceremony. He stood there quietly. We all waited in awkward silence.
Yeah.
He said there was simply no doubting science, though. The third restart went no better. I was now frustrated and just wanted to get the hell out of there. It was a waste of everything. So he said he told him, I want Marcus, not this guy. He said, dude, you don't want your family to see this, your future employers to see this.
Right.
He said, on my end, I can't ask someone to pay money to see this. He said, with that, Marcus buried his head in his hands and began to sob.
Oh, no. Fuck.
Jesus Christ. He said, quote, please, brother, can't we do this? I need the money. I need the money. This isn't getting paid $10,000 for this. It's probably getting $1,500 or something. He said he was crying real tears. I felt like shit. Of course, I couldn't continue to shoot with him in that condition, and it was his fault for getting zonked, but I still felt like the Grim Reaper. He said, I reached into my pocket. Here, take this, I said, as I pressed $200 into his hand. It's a little something for trying. We'll do this again, promise. Yeah, no problem. He said, thanks, brother. I'm sorry. He said through his tears, I'm sorry. I assured him, it's no problem. We'll get this going. And he said that, got a call the next day from Marcus, and he said, Marcus said, hey, brother, just wanted to say sorry again for last night. Thanks for being so cool with the cash, and I just want you to promise me that you won't give up on me and that you'll bring me back out for it. He said, Marcus, consider that money a deposit. We'll fly you back out. We'll get this done. You have my word. I won't forget about you. And he thanked me and all that shit, and it's all great. And he says, I wasn't bullshitting him. I wanted the show. Talks about the whole thing. He said, a few months later in May, I called Bagwell. I was actually a little disappointed that I hadn't lined up the shoot sooner, but I was happy to make good. I knew Marcus would appreciate it. Mm-hmm. I called him and explained that I wanted to rebook him and get the show, thus making good on my deposit. I saw he was booked on a convention out here in Jersey anyway. I was positively cheery in my Jesus role, offering a second chance to one who had fallen. Redemption. And he was positively a douchebag. He said, sorry, brother, I got a film crew coming out here shooting a deal with me and my family. The payday's a lot bigger than yours, so I'm going to pass, brother.
The money is more, so no.
Sorry. He says, a fury rose in me. The echoes of every story I'd heard about promoters viewing talent as opportunistic leeches began to ring in my mind. It was exactly this behavior that cast workers in such an unfavorable light, and comics too, same way. For the most part, I'd had a great rapport with talent. I was wrong by this cat. I was in the red on that show, and I still gave money to someone in need. Had he forgotten? The crying? My generosity? The fucking guy would be here anyway. It wasn't like he had to choose between either keeping the obligation to us or the the new riveting documentary being produced about the family buff. He's like, he's going to be at the fucking convention. But no, this was a fuck you to my crew and our time spent jacking off in Queens while waiting for him to kick out of his drool fest. It was a fuck you to the $200 I gave him to help out after being given no product, but still paying all the expenses associated with the shoot, plus Buff's travel expenses and accommodations. I don't need to be martyred for my holy deeds. I truthfully felt in my gut watching him break down. I truthfully felt it in my gut watching him break down. Perhaps that was the purpose after all. Maybe it was a personal journey type of thing. I was tested and I was generous, magnanimous, and now this was the final part of my test. I would now be Christ-like and turn the other cheek. Fuck that, I went off.
Yeah.
Marcus, maybe you forgot who I am, but I'm the guy that put $200 in your fucking hand after you mumbled and drooled into your fucking microphone when you were supposed to do an interview with us. He hesitated not a moment in returning fire. You yelling at me? I'll tell you what, when I see you in New Jersey next month, I'll punch your fucking teeth down your throat and you can film that.
And that's the end of the phone call?
And that's the end of the phone call. That was that. And he said, though, launching into Vengeance's mind mode, my initial instinct is to pull the raw footage and run it for free on our site. Because the whole thing that he described, that's all on film. The cameras were running the whole time. Yeah. Him trying to kick out, him drooling, crying, sobbing, begging for money. All this shit's on camera. Yeah. He said to pull the raw footage, run it for free on our site, YouTube, give it to TMZ and anyone else that would air it. It's a damning half hour or so of video, complete with crying, kicking out, and a language unlike English spoken by Buff in his attempts to answer my questions. He honestly said, at the end, though, he said it was a bad decision to do that, and he didn't do it because he said he needs other wrestlers to trust him.
Yeah.
And he can't, if they're not, they won't trust him after that, basically. What if someone else looks bad on a show? They're going to be worried that he's going to, whatever.
Or show up in Jersey and film that confrontation also, and then be like, look, man, I was nothing but nice to you. I'll run the footage.
No shit. Now, the big doc project that he was working on, The Good, the Bad, and the Buff, the Mark Bagwell journey, never. It doesn't even have a link on anything. It didn't even actually happen. Nothing ever came of it. I mean, that's just. This is sad. Yeah. This is getting sad. I mean, he's so fucked up. He's such a mess. You almost feel bad for him. You know what I mean? Where you're like, no, but then he's an asshole that wasted other people's times and made them fucking waste their money and then treated them like shit afterwards. Yeah. It's fine to have a bad night, but then don't fuck somebody over afterwards also. I mean, I felt bad for him. The kayfabe Sean Oliver got fucked and his partner Anthony. Everybody got fucked. I feel bad for all these people, Jimmy, but not nearly as bad as I feel for Mark Bagwell, commercial finance director, media and publishing in London, England here. What companies he work for? I can't find it. Mark Bagwell, civil engineer at U.S. Army in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Oh,
there we go.
He's living the dream.
Mark Bagwell, Chief Financial Officer at Pelican Advisory Group. Oh. Would you let this guy advise your finances? No. Mark Bagwell, not this one, our Mark Bagwell.
He needs $200.
Mark Bagwell, pastor at Golden Corner Church. Nope, don't think so. And maybe the worst one, Mark Bagwell, teacher at Greer Middle School.
In Greer, Arizona?
Taylor, South Carolina.
Got it.
Taylor, South Carolina. Mr. Bagwell's drooling on his desk again.
Yes. He says he'll kick out.
He says he's going to kick out? We don't know what that means. In 2015, he goes on Steve Austin's podcast and claims that the reason why he struggled with pills is because he has sleep apnea.
Okay.
He says,
Soma does not treat that.
He says, I have severe sleep apnea. Before it was his irregular heartbeat. Now it's this. I have severe sleep apnea. I did not know I had severe sleep apnea back in the day. So I would wake up and feel horrible. I would sedate. So I would sedate to go to the gym. I would sedate to go to bed. I would sedate to get into the ring. I would sedate because I didn't feel good. The word sleep apnea, nobody knew what it was back then. It wasn't a word yet. So once I got diagnosed with sleep apnea, then I was able to clean this stuff up. He's
what
fine.
Year did he say that is?
He's good. 2015. 16, I'm sorry.
Nobody knew about sleep apnea in 2016?
10 years ago, they didn't know about it, which they did.
They did.
People have known about that for a long time.
The girl that I was dating's dad had a sleep apnea machine in 2004.
Yeah. It was on the Sopranos in like 2003.
Right.
Everybody knew Uncle Junior had one. So
it's a big deal.
Yeah. He said he was able to clean the stuff up, though, once he got that taken care of. Okay. But back before I was able to clean it up, it created, long story short, sleep apnea created an unbelievable drug addict. But he's good now.
Yeah.
2016, he files a lawsuit in U.S. District Court of Connecticut against WWE for royalties from material he's featured on the WWE network.
Okay.
They have everything WCW did for 10 years. He claimed that in the Q1 of 2016, his quarterly statement was for $64.40 of royalties.
Yeah.
And he said he wanted more pay, and he ended up suing. And WWE called it meritless and said that they would demand that his lawsuit be dismissed. So, 2017, he's on a show called Living the Dream. It's a TV show. It's got all sorts of weird people in it. Here's the description. Mal, Jen, and their 2 children swap rainy Yorkshire for a new life running a booming RV park in Florida. But it soon becomes clear that they aren't going to be living the dream they'd hoped for. Okay.
English people moved to Florida and found out Florida's a shithole? Is that what it is?
I suppose. It was on from 2017 to 2019.
Wow.
Kevin Nash was also in it for 6 episodes. Yeah. They must have liked wrestlers. Kim Fields also in it for 6 episodes.
Really?
Tootie.
Yeah.
Tootie. Living the Dream there. So also in 2017, he's in a movie called 4 Go. 4 Go? I don't know.
Okay.
On the eve before Halloween, 4 escaped murderers head to the woods, Jesus Christ, with a hostage they didn't count on. With an inept posse searching the wrong area, they will be lucky if they live through the weekend. Okay. Shot entirely in Louisiana at John Schneider Studios. Do you know who John Schneider is?
I don't.
Bo Duke.
Is that real?
Bo Duke. It is written, directed, everything by Bo Duke. This is Bo Duke's movie, 100%. Also starring, or TV show, also starring Buff fucking Bagwell. So there you go. Also in December 17th, or in December 2017, WWE lawsuit is dismissed by the courts.
It's over.
Tell him he's got nothing. July 2018, he is arrested again, this time for simple battery. Not sure what happened, but he's arrested for battering somebody somewhere. It's happened before. May 2020, he's on Cameo, and he puts out a real weird cameo to somebody. And he said it's very fun. His face is all bruised. The whole side of his face looks like he got hit by a truck. He says he tripped over a dog and hit his face on the pavement. That's his excuse.
So he's selling cameos? Take a break, Buff.
Oh, my God. It's better. At least he's not escorting people. At one point,
least put on like a Phantom of the Opera mask or something.
Yeah, At one point, he removes his glasses and says, quote, "I got a broke face and I'm still good looking. Look at me. Do not adjust your screen. I am still this good looking."
No.
He continues and raises his voice. He says, he says he's tired of being in quarantine. He was tired. This was in 2020. Okay. And he says, "I'm about to tear my own house up right the fuck now. I'm thinking about putting a chokehold on my girlfriend who's the cameraman just to end this motherfucker. I'm over it."
Buff, don't say that.
Don't do that. I'm thinking about beating my girlfriend so I can go to jail to get out of this. Don't, please.
She's holding this camera, facilitating me making $40.
Jesus Christ. A few days later, he takes to his Facebook account to try to explain that that's not what he was talking about. And he said at the time he was rushing through doing cameos and he was drunk. And he said his girlfriend was telling him not to do the videos because he was drunk and he was doing them anyway. And he was just laughing about the whole thing.
Idiot.
And, at the end of it, he says, "Thanks, everyone, for their support," at the end of the cameo. And at the end of it, he told fans they could even call him and then gave out his phone number.
His actual phone number.
Drunk. That's drunk.
Remember when Tracy gave Sarah her phone number from?
Yes, that was hilarious. We got from Love After Lockup. We got now she's deceased.
I bought James
Tracy
a cameo from Tracy, and she fucking gave her phone number.
He's like, "Here's my phone number in case y'all want to talk." I'm like, I am not hanging out with you. No.
And now she's dead, so we can't call her anyway.
Can't call her, but we did have her phone number there. We had Tracy from Love After Lockup's phone number. It only cost, what, $30, I think?
$30.
$30 for the cameo. Not bad. That was a good present. Thank you for that. So, August 16th, 2020. This is just last year. The Cobb County Police Department is investigating a serious injury traffic collision that occurred on Cumberland Boulevard, east of Cumberland Parkway. Must be in Atlanta because every fucking street has the same name. They must be all Peachtree or Cumberland. It's Cobb County, so it's Georgia. That August 16th, 2020 at 5:18 p.m., according to investigators, a 2013 Chevrolet Tahoe was traveling west on Cumberland Boulevard, approaching Cumberland Parkway, when the driver lost control while negotiating a curve.
Uh-oh.
The Chevrolet Tahoe, by the way, Buff is obviously driving the Chevy Tahoe. The Chevrolet Tahoe collided.
Tracy.
It's not. It's weird, right? I was going to put her in here. It's Lex Luger. Collided with the center median and a metal fence within the median before going through that and continuing. Wow, this is crazy. Continuing west across the eastbound lanes.
Oh, my God.
Against fucking traffic. The Tahoe then hit the curb and was finally stopped when it collided with a freestanding bathroom at the transit bus station. That's how it ends for him. He is fucking crashes into a fucking bathroom and blue water covers his Tahoe.
He crashed into a shit house. His life is literally in the shitter.
It's in the shitter. Everything. It's a fucking disaster. The driver, 50-year-old Buff Bagwell, Marcus Bagwell, was transported to Wellstar Kennestone Hospital with serious injuries. They do believe, investigators, that he was impaired by prescription medication during the collision. His crash resulted in multiple injuries, including broken ribs, a broken right hip, a broken left socket bone, a broken nose, and a torn right groin muscle. Fuck. That
socket bone, like he fucked his hip up that he just had replaced.
It's like his hip and pelvis or something. Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Oh, man.
Cobb County jail records show he was arrested, charged with misdemeanor driving under the influence of drugs, misdemeanor open container violation, too. 4 misdemeanor charges of hit and run, a misdemeanor speeding, misdemeanor failing to yield when entering an intersection, misdemeanor giving false name or address or birth date to law enforcement officer. Can't do that. Three charges of following too closely. Yeah, three charges of following too closely. Misdemeanor reckless driving. Misdemeanor driving with a gore or median within a gore or median or emergency lane. Misdemeanor duty upon striking fixed object. Misdemeanor driving on the wrong side of the roadway. And misdemeanor license to be carried and exhibited on demand.
Duty and fixed object. That's the That's the shit house, right?
Yeah, you have a duty to stop if you hit something that's moving, a non-vehicle.
It's hilarious that duty and shithouse are the same thing.
The same thing. So that's August 2001 or 2020. I'm sorry, May of 2021. Jimmie,
just this year,
very little time.
Yeah,
he is arrested again. This time at about 1:25 p.m. on a Saturday at the intersection of Bells Ferry Road and Santa Fe Trail. This is where he lives in Woodstock, Georgia. He's booked into the jail at 2:05, bonded out around 9:15. We'll get to the charges. $4,000 bond for 5 of the charges and a $10,000 bond for the rest. He is a second chance bail bonds paid his bonds here. He was driving his 2007 Saab when things have gotten bad for him. It's a 13-year-old, Swedish car. Right. When he struck another driver's 2006 Acura from behind at an intersection, Bagwell left the scene and kept driving.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
He's in trouble.
The other driver followed him for 2 miles until he finally stopped. Police were called and arrived at 12:46. Bagwell was advised that he advised that he was unable to stop because his vehicle was having battery issues. I don't know how they affect the brakes.
It won't start again.
I mean, They then discovered that he had an outstanding warrant for his arrest related to the last crash in August of 2020.
That's probably more the reason.
He was then taken into custody on new charges from the hit and run. So he's scheduled on all sorts of shit. The specifics of what happened here, these are the charges he's booked on. Okay? This is everything here. This is from 2021. Driving under the influence of drugs, open container violation, hit and run, duty of driver to stop or return to the scene of an accident. That's 4 charges there. Those are 4. Yeah. Speeding, failure to yield when entering an intersection, giving a false name or address or birth date to law enforcement. That's his go-to. Yeah. Following too closely, again, because he rear-ended the guy. Reckless driving, driving within a gore or median or emergency lane, again, is like the same thing. Fixed object striking, driving on the wrong side of the roadway, and all that. That's in addition to the charges he still faces from 2020, which are all the ones I laid out to you. About a week later, he has a message for his fans. He does a video where he says, if you're concerned about me, quote, thank you for your concern, but I'm doing fantastic, and then started flexing his body. He said that, quote, dude, I'm 245. I look absolutely incredible. I'm in the best shape of my life. I feel better than I've ever felt in my entire life. As you can see, if I'm in shape, Buff Bagwell is not hurting. He said, I just don't understand why everybody's worrying. I just think, honest to God, brother, I really, really am thankful for them reaching out with their prayers, and thank everybody for that. I just want to say I'm fine. Thank you for your prayers. Without the wrestling fans, there is no Buff.
What
My
a story
God.
of this man's life.
This is fucking crazy. Then they talk about, if you want to hear the truth about the incident on May 22nd, come to the Big D Flea Market on June 19th, where I'll be there from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. telling the absolute truth, and anybody that knows Buff Bagwell knows I tell the absolute truth.
At the flea market.
At the flea market.
Jesus.
He's going to the Big D Flea Market. Yeah, that is pretty fucking sad here. We will end this with his advice to wrestlers.
Okay.
They said, his advice to kids who want to be wrestlers, he was asked. And he said, any kid that walks up to me and says they want to get into wrestling, I tell them don't. It's just a bad time, and it's because there's only one place to go. TNA is trying, but they're really not there. Just needs to be at least 2 big companies. So he doesn't advise wrestling. Can't get enough of Buff Bagwell. There are all sorts of autographed pictures of him, all shirtless and oiled up.
Become a Georgia police officer. You'll get plenty
You'll find
interaction.
him. Yeah. You get a police officer in Cobb County or around Woodstock or DeKalb somewhere, you'll find him. Just look for the guy careening the wrong way across a fucking median and into oncoming traffic. About $15 you can get an autographed 8x10 of Buff here, so that's not bad. And that, everybody, is the story of Buff Bagwell. Marcus Alexander Buff Bagwell.
That's going to end bad.
Oh, it's not going to end well. This just happened a few months ago.
Right.
He was in 2 major horrific car accidents where he was shit-faced in the last 2 years.
Within 6 months, yeah.
Yeah, it's not in the last year. It's not good. It's not going well, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Nope. He's going to be, he's going to be found somewhere, I have a feeling, unfortunately.
I'd rather it be that way than him take somebody with him, because at this point, it's somebody's going with him, and that's fucking horrifying.
How 2 times he shot across other lanes of traffic on a fucking highway and didn't kill anybody. I don't know how that happened. He's a lucky son of a bitch, man.
Wow.
He's got a horseshoe up his ass or something, or a top hat on his head, some shit. I don't know how it works, but... That is that. If you enjoy that episode or any other episode, tell us about it. Tell the world about it, more importantly. Get on whatever platform that you listen on. Give us 5 stars. It helps a lot. Helps drive you up the charts, so do that. In addition to that, also, you should head over to shutupandgivememurder.com, where you can get tickets to not only all the live shows that we have our fingers crossed that will actually happen, but the virtual live show for Small Town Murder. And I'm telling you, the world is kind of weird in the way these venues are going right now. We're not sure what's going to happen with the tour. I don't know. Yeah. We hope, but we're not sure. So some people I've heard people saying like, well, I have tickets to see them in wherever the fuck. I'm not going to get the virtual live show because I'm going there. That might not happen is what we're telling you. So if you definitely want to see us, come here. It might happen. We don't know, and we're not trying to get you to book. We don't care if you buy it or not. Honestly, it doesn't.
It's horrifying to think about what's going to happen in the next 6 months.
Exactly. Horrifying. We're more worried about that part. So anyway, do that. Shutupandgivememurder.com right now. Tickets to the virtual live show. We promise you a goddamn good time. Have fun with us. Yeah. We'll be all shit tanked over here. You guys get shit tanked at your house, and we'll all sit around. You can have whatever snacks you want. You don't have to buy like overpriced mozzarella sticks. It's going to be fantastic.
Very helpful.
Check that out. Yeah, very helpful. So do that. That once again, shutupandgivememurder.com, and tickets to all the virtual live shows and all your merchandise too. Right there, you get it all over there without a doubt. Patreon is. It's cooking, and it's bubbling, and it's boiling over. Patreon.com/crimeinsports. My God, are the episodes good this week? Because, first of all, we talked about the XFL for Crime and Sports' bonus episode. Yeah. Wow, was it fucking fun, the XFL, hearing about all that shit. Just going over all the team uniforms was funny as shit. And tons of Vince McMahon impersonations and making fun of him. And then for Small Town Murders episode, which you'll also have access to because you have access to everything that we do for $5 or above, that is our I guess it's sort of annual Love After Lockup postseason rundown.
It's the wrap-up of the season, which was the best one yet.
It was so fun. Join the debate. Is Stan's hair real or not? Is it a bad comb-over or a wig that's made to look like a comb-over? We can't decide.
There's no way that guy didn't just pick that out of a fucking... He bought that, James.
I saw that too. Somebody in one of the groups, our fan groups or whatever, had like a thing. It's 50-50, dude. Everyone's like, there's no way he's buying hair that looks that bad. And people are like, but blah, blah, blah. But it looks like it's a fucking toupee. But who would buy a toupee that looks that bad? Back and forth, just like us.
That's why
we'll never know. I want to get Stan in a headlock and give him a noogie, and I want to find out what the fuck's in there.
If I meet him, I'm grabbing it. I promise.
Oh, right away.
I'm
pulling it right off, or I'm just pulling it and clearing off his... Imagine if he had a full, thick head of hair under there. just like a great head of hair. He just combs it poorly.
I'm going to buy him on Cameo. He's got to be on Cameo, right? And I want him to take that fucking thing off. Because it's not real. There's no
whatever's on your fucking head. So check that out. Join the debate. So much fun. Patreon.com/crimeinsports. Once again, everybody over the $5 level gets access to both shows and everything in them. So check all that out and do that. And you're going to get a shout out, which we're going to do in just a minute, because God damn it, we're appreciative. And that's how we tell you. So that said, also follow us on social media. We're at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook. We are at Small Town Murder on Instagram. Jimmie, I think it's time. I need to hear the list of the greatest goddamn people who would never, ever, ever take our money and then drool into our microphones without actually telling us anything, and then later on not finishing our project with us. Hit me with them, Jimmie.
This week's executive producers are Haley Gavaldon, Lucas Stenzel, Anthony Renaro. I'm enjoying seeing the names of people that have been on this for a very long time, and then just now getting onto Patreon. It's fucking rad. Nancy Weaver, and of course Jordan Bennett. You guys, thank you so much for everything that you do for us. It's fucking staggering. Truly.
It's wild, and we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Other producers this week are Kia Morissette, Thomas Smith, Shida Perlman? I don't know. Oscar,
Shida Perlman?
Yeah. Is that a person? Okay. I don't know.
Rita Perlman?
I don't know. It's Shida. Sheeta Perlman? I bet it's Sheeta Perlman.
Sheeta, like Rita.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Poor Carla.
Yeah. Oscar Gamble's Fro, Rabbi Shmulevich.
I love it.
Peyton Meadows, Richard Bradley. Happy birthday, bud.
Happy birthday.
Frank the South African Birdwasher, Lori Wilson, Jennifer Visconti, Jake Jacob, and the Kenworth King. They're going down to help the people in Louisiana. That's fucking so cool to see how many people are doing
that.
Good for you. Jeff Bezos has big mommy milkers, James. I don't know if you know that. Jennifer Ward, Pixie De Leon, Gabrielle Moore is she listened to us while hiding in a bathtub as Ida tore apart her fucking town. Shit. Thank you very much, Gabrielle.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Hope we could comfort you a little anyway.
At least a little bit. Galen Harris, Hobbs Rentals, Haywood, you pinch me? All right. Margaret Tudhill, Tuffle? I don't know.
Tuttle?
Yeah, one of those. Kelsey Couts, Janice Hill, Julian Trennerden from South Australia, P.S. Way the fuck down in Australia.
Wow, thank you.
Patrice Blankenship, Carl Kirshner, and his favorite movie is Rain of Fryer. I don't know if you know that. You wanted us to know. Ashley Long donated both ways. Thank you. Linda Brilla, Alexandria I'm never going to get this poor lady's name right. Krudkowitz? No. Rebecca Samantha Flaxeroni Head. Charles Bird, Sarah Frank, Anthony Hoare, Jory Walker, Tyler Levinsky, Andrea Hubbard, Jeremy Cornelius, silver-haired middle-aged white man, Kelly Millican, Liz Bosworth, Sonny Marsden, Alex Pyle, Cooper Armstrong, Kirill Basil, Alec Martinek, Toffee Brown, Matthew Westwood, Christopher Routier, Jody Benishek, Kaylin Barnes, Melissa Chandler, Taco Whore.
Taco Whore.
It's just taco, but I'm going with whore forever now. Jeremy
pay me in tacos.
with Sizzle, Eric Borzon, what? Mystique Deegan, Brett Ross, Dennis Mullery, Tiff Ames, Corey Hale, Justin Dials, Jacob Skaggs, Brandon Footman, Joellen Wagner, Jody Marshall, Sarah Sellers, Cassidy Hoare, Peter Tremonte, Christopher F. Hoare, Kim Vega, Torrin Miller, Chris Stevens, Suzanne Sowers, Frank Gant, Luke Barker, Chanda Davis, Joshua McCullough, Jana Dodson, Bonnie J, Megan Benson, Katie Martin, Casey Baumrad, Chris Bowers, Becca Addison, Michael Donovan, Melissa Dowiash, Guth, nope, that's Ruth Jemison, Susan Hoare, Catherine Simmons, Joshua Gavin, Ashley Lynn, Anthony Davis, Jasper McIntyre, Cameron Clark, Joey Kirby, Karina Wagner, yes, Jeremiah Klein, Perla Alamio, Melissa Hoare, Justine McNeil, Victoria, what is this?
Core?
Yes, Tersigny, Tal Tesser, April Moyer, Adrian Paredes, Brandon Buck, Jonas Boyle, Nick Warren, Bridget Manning, Josie Brittain, Greg Wilson, Joey, nope, that's just Joe, Boudreau, Matt Wells, Darius Mitchell, Matt Sanchez, Cassidy Burgeon, Angel John, and Rhonda Conlon, Richard Graffio, Cammie Hoare, Chloe Tallman, Brianne and Bailey, Mason Cosette, Jell Wickham, Marcus Jimenez, Taylor Johnson, Patrick Coughlin, Serena Lee, Starla Hoare, Aslan Ridge, Kevin Marzal, David Hale, BJ Jezewski, Stephen Ross, Mike Atkinson, Aaron Squires, Taylor Moran, Nick Reed, Carissa Grandstrom, Michael Tho, Jeff Swank, Bryson Hoare, Bethany Brown, Rebecca Procure, Tyler DeWine, Sienna Radney, GT Stratton, Kayla Burnham, Matt Goker, Chelsea Gibson, Andrew Kirsten, Angela Porch, Scarlett Matthews, Aaron Hoare, Joe Betts, Doug Jones, Mark Lampieri, Michael Morgan, Justin Paragoy, Bo Hoare, Kristen, nope, that's Chris Poniecki, Lance Hoare, Bill Potter, Brian Smith, Haley Hoare, Andrew Smith holding the fart. Are you happy now? Are you proud of yourself? Garrett Schlo, Rich Russell, Ike Stevens, James Debus, nope, that's Stephen Beavers. Maybe everybody's last name is Beavers. Drew Jacomet, Amanda Beavers, Tessa Byers, Stephen Picton, Mark Beavers, Victoria Beavers, Adam Rhoda, what is this? Brody Pollard, Theory, Annie Wydra, Tara Bates, Daniel Kawamaki, Boltema, Alana Beavers, Chris Reedy, Daniel Osborne, Catherine Rice, Ryan Levitt, Riker Grimm, Christopher Volstecki, Haley Galvadon. She donated both ways. That's amazing.
Wow, thank you so much.
Nicole King, Sarah Ferrando, Tammy Martin, Megan Isherwood, Tamia Collins, Sean Perry, Trey Schubert, John Carroll, Anthony Lowe, Noel Dalla Forte, that's not right. Adam Miranda, dispatches from who knows where, Tate Wilson, Nicole Anderson, Corey Rosser, Rachel Barrows, Nicole Francis, Taylor Matthew, Matteo, Lori Barnett, Amber Wardle, Allie Turner, Taylor Jenkins, Victoria Mintkin, Vi Conrad, Cole Varela, Ryan Levitt. He donated both ways. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Jim Richmond, Sam Hoare or Sam Beavers, Ryan Wakash, Rebecca Gilbertson, Hannah McGrath, Robin Hall, Jacqueline Brothers, and Patrick C. Hoare Beavers. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Unbelievable.
All the beavers and whores are wonderful, and we appreciate you so much. And you'll have to go back and listen to shout-outs before if you think we're insulting you. No, not at all. No. It's just an inside joke based on the shout-outs that everybody is really taken to and loved. So, you know what? Good for them. This is good stuff. Yeah. What if people wanted to get a hold of you and take to you and love you? How could they do that, Jimmie?
You can do as everybody else has done and follow me at Whisman Sucks. Where can they find you?
You can find me at Jimmie P is Funny, or just look up the show. I mean, if you Google the show, it'll tell you who we are, and then you can find us that way. Yeah. Pretty easy. You can find both of us, and it's wonderful. So do that. Take the time, follow us, keep coming back every damn single week and hanging out with us for more stories of crazy, obviously. They're coming fast and furious. And we'll just say, live from the Crime and Sports Studios, we will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue? Maybe you ignore them. Or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer.
I can really show you how to make some money.
And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a microcity built for scammers. From Wondery, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.